on behalf of corporate professional or on my own behalf, I extend a very warm welcome to all to our 127th webinar on implication of notification bringing CAs, CS, CMAs, advocates under the ambit of PMLA. Friends, as you are aware, the Department of Revenue, Ministry of Finance has issued two notifications on 3rd May and 9th May under PMLA. The 3rd May notification has brought certain financial transactions carried out by chartered accountants, company secretary, cost accountant under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. The next notification issued on 9th May was broadened the list of reporting entities under PMLA. The law now covers people acting on behalf of or for another person for the formation of companies or LLPs, acting as a nominee shareholders, director, secretary, partner, or providing office address without a valid lease contract. This has created a stir in the professional circle, and the fraternity of CS, CS, CMA has been expressing anxiety and concern over these two notifications. The objectives of today's webinar is to understand the implication and nuances of these two notifications. Friends, money laundering poses a serious threat not only to the financial system of countries, but also to their integrity and sovereignty. The aim of prevention of money laundering is to prevent money laundering and other financial crimes. Accordingly, PMLA makes money laundering an offense under Section 3 and provides for punishment which extend to imprisonment and imposition of fine. Besides, PMLA envisages attachment of property involvement in money laundering. Section 3 defines what amounts to the offense of money laundering and is concerning around which all other provision of the Act resolves. As per the section, whoever directly or indirectly attempts to indulge or knowingly assist or knowingly is a part or is actually involved in any process or actively connected with the proceeds of crime, including its concealment, possession, acquisition, or use, and objective projection or claiming it as an unintended property, shall be guilty of offense of money laundering. Friends, as you are aware, therefore, when any person is sought to be proceeded with under Section 3, the following matters need to be satisfied: whether he directly or indirectly attempt to indulge in an act, whether he knowingly assisted, whether he has been knowingly a party, whether he was actually involved. And the above acts must be related to connected with the proceeds of crime and projecting it as an untainted property. Proceeds of crime mean any property obtained as a result of criminal activities relating to the schedule offense. Now, schedule offense list is separate, which is long list. Therefore, if a professional does not directly or indirectly attempt to indulge, does not knowingly assist, is not knowingly a party, or is not actually involved in an act connected with proceed of crime, he cannot be said to have committed the offense of money laundering. I am aware that this topic is very interesting, and this topic is a talk of the town today. Every social media, every blog, every newspaper, every professional circle is talking about this law. And I hope that when you are reading this particular two notification, you will realize this is not only connected to the complete law relating to PMLA, but they are talking about the reporting of the transactions. So what is this law? What is this notification? Why this notification has come? What are the implications? Implication is whether you formed a company, it will be applicable, in which case it will be applicable, and how the professionals, chartered accountant, company secretary, advocates are seeing this, how the professional institution is seeing from this angle. And that's why today we have invited people from chartered accountant fraternity, company secretary fraternity, and the advocate as well as CMA, cost accountants. And professionals, those who are actively involved in this practice of this law. So we want to understand from their side that what is this law. So today we have divided the entire session in a different way, and we have invited the prominent people. So before going to the topics, I just want to extend a very hearty welcome to all our learned speakers for today's webinar. First, I welcome Mr. Sanjay Gupta, who is a past president of Institute of Cost Accountant. Then we have Mr. C. Anil Gupta, chartered accountant and government nominee on the Council of ICSI. Then we have Mr. Vinod Jain, founder and chairman, INMAS, past president, and me, and past council member of ICI. I welcome Dr. R.K. Agarwal, chartered accountant and past chairman of NIRC of ICSI. And he was a president of Bharatiya Mitra Samiti also. Then we have Mr. G.P. Madan, advocate and past chairman of NIRC and ICSI. And presently he is the chairman of insolvency relating to PSD Chamber of Commerce. Then we have C.A. Anil Agrawal, former chairman of NIRC and ICSI and doing practice in this area. Then we have Mr. Amit Khemka, advocate Supreme Court and High Court of Delhi, who is actually doing work day and night in PMLA law. Then we have Mr. Bala Nadar, founder Startup Bala. Bala is the prominent person in India who is a company secretary by profession and who is incorporating highest number of companies and providing various services to the corporates. And he is the right person to tell us the right interpretation and how he is perceiving. Then we have Mr. Amit Gupta, who is a PCS and insolvency professional. Then we have Mr. Ravi Prakash, associate partner, securities law and corporate litigation, corporate professional. So you can understand seeing the, and then we have Mr. Ashok Haldia, chairman IIP and ICI and ex-secretary of ICI. He is in London and he will join us from there. So you can understand that the galaxy of speakers are here from different sources, different interpretation, different understanding, and different perception. They will discuss today. So without taking much time, I will tell all of you that today's session is divided into various parts. First, we are discussing the meaning of offense and money laundering and the proceeds of crime relating to two notifications. Amit Khemkaji will discuss with us. Then analysis and implication of notification dated 3rd May or 9th May. R.K. Agarwal, Dr. R.K. Agarwal will discuss. Then Amit Gupta will discuss what professional would be expected to do while accepting, carrying out financial and other assignment, KYC, documentation, and due diligence, while accepting assignment and executing assignment. Then role to be played by CMA, ICSI, ICI, and laying down assurance standard guidance note, code of conduct that will be discussed by Sanjay Gupta, past president CMA, C. Anil Gupta, partner and who is a presently government nominee of Company Secretary Institute, and Mr. Vinod Jain, they will discuss. Then we have another discussion by G.P. Madan, challenger before profession and notification, whether an opportunity or more professional or deterrent to professionalism. Then we have implication of the notification with respect to incorporation of companies. Bala Nadar will discuss, and practical aspects, intent, object, and background of the two notification. C. Anil Agrawal will discuss with us. And then I will have requested Ashok Haldia ji that what advice he wants to give to the professionals, and he has written a very good article recently. And then Ravi Prakash will discuss international commitment and FATF, because that is the origination on this and how this law is connected with this. So these are the topics we have decided. Now I will request Amit Khemkaji to discuss and present meaning of offense of money laundering and proceed of crime relating to two notification. And after that, we will have a question answer. And today's program is not finishing at 6 o'clock. We have kept it 6:30. So please join and be part of this. So Amit Khemkaji, over to you, sir. Amit ji, you have to unmute yourself.
Yeah. Thank you, Pavanji. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity, or I may say the responsibility, because the person who has to open the innings has to also lay a base for the other players to come and play. And when you have such distinguished lineup of experts to play, the responsibility becomes even heavier. Good evening to all the distinguished panelists and my brothers on the panel, and good evening to all the participants. The recent notifications, in fact, we have only been talking about these two notifications. And there is kind of a flutter amongst the professionals, as if there is an attempt to kind of bringing the professions themselves into the ambit of PMLA. But I think we have to be cautious. And we have to understand that whenever an offense of money laundering takes place, in fact, money laundering comes second. It is first that a person who tries to earn something by committing an offense, whatever he earns, whatever proceeds he gets, he ought to layer it. He ought to place it. And for that, there would be different methodologies which will be adopted by that person. And whoever is dealing with that, his money, needs to keep records. Like, for example, the financial institutions or the depositories. Now, all these people have to keep records. And if those records are not kept, it would be almost impossible to detect or to investigate whenever there is an offense which has been committed, or to monitor the activities. And therefore, the Act itself, the Prevention of Money Laundering Act itself, provides for a mechanism for upkeep of records and for reporting. And what is to be kept, what record has to be kept has been provided in the Act itself. Two types of records primarily has to be kept. One is transaction-centric. The limits or the nature or the value of transactions have been provided in the rules. The other is client-centric. So where it is client-centric, then the KYC also becomes a very important, the identification of the client, identification of the person conducting the transaction. That has to be maintained. And also the details, the documents, the correspondence regarding the transactions have to be maintained. The time period is prescribed for that for how much time it has to be kept. What becomes most important in this case is Section 12AA of the Act. Section 12AA talks of suspicious transactions. And the suspicious transactions have been defined in Rule 3 of the PMLA Maintenance of Record Rules 2005. Rule 2. Now that there they have explained that wherever there is a suspicion, or where there is a knowledge, or there is a information that the transaction could involve some kind of proceeds of crime, there are various various situations which have been given therein. The reporting entity ought to report it to the FIU. Of course, the director of the enforcement directorate can always call for the records, can always seek the records. But in a regular manner, the records have to be shared with the authorities under the rules. The reporting entities have been defined in the Act itself. I may read the definition of the reporting entity. Means a banking company, a financial institution, intermediary, or a person carrying on a designated business or profession. And a person carrying on a designated business or profession has been further defined, which includes various, the people doing the business of game of chance, the registration authorities, the real estate agents, and so on. And in the end, it gives the power to the central government to specify or to notify any person carrying on such other activities as the central government may, by notification, so designate from time to time. It is in exercise of this power that these two notifications have come. I will straight away come to these two notifications as to what is, according to me, the implication of these two notifications. Let me, for the benefit of all of you, go through the first notification of 3rd of May 2023, where it talks of central government hereby notifies that the financial transactions carried out by a relevant person. Now, it does not talk of any specific person. It says transactions, financial transactions carried out by a relevant person. The other relevant, that is the first important word, the relevant person. The second is on behalf of his client. So it does not include any activity of advisory nature. It is only when any professional or any person is acting on behalf of his client in the course of his or her profession in relation to buying or selling of immovable property. Like, for example, a person takes an attorney and conducts the sale itself, conducts the transaction itself, managing of client's money, security or other assets, management of bank, savings or other accounts, organization of contributions for creation, operation or management of companies, creation, operation or management of companies, limited liability partnerships or trusts, and buying and selling of business entities shall be an activity for the purpose of this subsection. So it does not say that these are the persons who are, these are the professions who are the relevant person. It actually defines relevant persons in the explanation 1. For the purpose of this notification, relevant person includes, the word includes here, in my opinion, is very important, because it is a very wide definition which includes these three types of persons also. An individual who obtains a certificate of practice under Section 6 of Chartered Accountants Act and practicing individually or through a firm in whatever manner it has been constituted. The same provision is for the company secretaries and the cost accountants as well. Now, here, what is, according to me, is very important and where we must, I will like to draw the attention to. An individual who obtains a certificate of practice. So it only applies to those chartered accountants, which, specifically, it says that those persons who are in practice and is still working on behalf of a client. So, in my opinion, it does not apply to an advisory job. It is only when we have taken up, we start working as an attorney, or we start giving kind of an outsourcing activity, outsourcing services to the client. Then only the person would be involved, person would be included in this definition. Now, it becomes even more clear when we read the notification of Section 9th of May. In exercise the powers conferred by subclause so and so, so and so, so and so, herein referred to, the central government hereby notifies that the following activities, when carried out in the course of business on behalf of or for another person, as the case may be, as an activity for the purpose of said clause. Now here there is nothing, it applies to everyone. It does not apply to any specific profession or business. It talks of that anyone who is into this business or is doing this work on behalf of another person, or is carrying out during the course of the business on behalf of or for another person, that would be treated as a reporting entity, and he will be liable to do whatever a reporting entity has to do under the Act. Now, what are the activities? Acting as a formation agent of companies and limited liability partnerships. So I would say that till a person is only advising, only helping out, only giving his legal opinion or legal assistance, that would not be included. It is only when one starts these words for behalf of or for another person are very, very important in my view. Now, the activities have been given. Then there are certain exceptions. And those exceptions, for removal of doubt, it is clarified that the following activities shall not be regarded as activities for the purpose of so and so, so and so. Any activity that is carried out as part of an agreement of lease, sublease, tenancy, and other agreement or arrangement, it has to be connected with the earlier portion of it. It says, now it says that wherever the person is providing a registered office, business address or accommodation, correspondence or other administrative address for a company or limited liability partnership or a trust. So if you are providing it as a landlord, then in that case there is no problem. If there is a sublease, lease, tenancy, then one is not covered. But if it is as a professional or as a person working on behalf of someone else, the address is provided, then one becomes reporting entity. However, if it is by way of a lease, then it will not apply. Similarly, any activity that is carried out by an employee on behalf of his employer, so those people who are doing any of these activities as employees of the other person, they are also not involved in it. They are also not included in it. Any activity that is carried out by an advocate, a chartered accountant, cost accountant, or company secretary in practice, who is engaged in formation of the company to the extent of filing a declaration as required under clause B of subsection 1 of section 7 of Companies Act. So as I said earlier, that anything done in the capacity of a legal professional for advisory job for the purpose of assisting the client or another person, in my opinion, will not convert the professional as a reporting entity. However, it gives an opportunity also to the professional that if you want to work in that capacity, then in that case, whatever are the requirements of the Act, whatever are the requirements of the PMLA, maintenance of record rules, they can be followed and they ought to be followed. So I do not really see any big danger. It may be called a precursor. There may be more things coming, but as of now, I feel that it is nothing much to be anxious, as Pavanji said, that there is anxiety amongst the professionals. I don't see much to be anxious about it, because unless if you are conducting your profession in a true arm's length manner as a true professional, there is nothing much to worry in these notifications. However, of course, if one is undertaking one of these jobs or one of these activities on behalf of the client, then in that case, of course, it will entail the responsibility on the person concerned. So I feel that the key would be to work at an arm's length approach, work as a professional, and more professionalism in the approach, better would be the safety net. Thank you, Pavanji.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Amit ji. The very interesting point has come out from your discussion that this is applicable only on the practicing side, that we will discuss separately now, because this is a question that a consultant who is not taking a certificate of practice, but he's advising his client and giving this, will he cover or not? That because I have received some questions, so I will discuss you separately. Now, Dr. R.K. Agrawal, you please analyze an implication of the notification of these two dates. What is your view on this as a chartered accountant?
Thank you, Pavanji, and my very distinguished fellow panelists. In fact, my job has been lightened by Amit ji when he has explained these two notifications. Let me further add to this that so far as the PMLA Act is concerned, one is offense under the Act, and second is reporting requirement. These are two primary things which have been provided in this Act. So far as the offense of money laundering is concerned, it is charging section 3 and section 4, and all procedure has been laid down, and it is applicable to any person. It may be chartered accountant, practicing, non-practicing, company secretary, any person, even banker, even financial institution, even company, even director, whosoever is involved in the crime which has been prescribed under the Money Laundering Act. That is one part of the thing. It does not make any distinction whether you are a practicing professional or non-practicing professional, etc. Then second part is regarding the reporting, which is contained in section 11A to section 15 of the PMLA Act. This provides only the requirement of doing the KYC, due diligence, maintenance of records, and reporting to the authorities, prescribed authorities, any of the specified transactions which have been given in the rules made there. So now these two notifications have come with respect to the reporting requirement, because it has nothing to do with the offense of money laundering. It is only relating to the reporting requirement. And let me say that section 14 of PMLA Act prescribes that for the reporting, there is no criminal or civil liability. It is only a fine which can be imposed by the director if the reporting has not been done on the information which is asked by the director, which is prescribed under section 30. So there is no criminal liability for the purpose of violation or for non-reporting of the transactions as required under these sections or as per these notifications. So this is the softer part of the, tension or the worry or the concern which in the professional circle everybody is expressing regarding that by these notifications, all practicing chartered accountants, company secretaries, cost accountants have come within the net of the PMLA. So it is only for the limited purpose. Now let us see what is the reporting requirement. As we discussed, reporting entities have been prescribed, which Amitji discussed, and in section 21SA, the definition of person carrying on designated business or profession has been given. So apart from the banks, financial institutions, and intermediaries, this is the fourth category, which may be the reporting entity. And the definition of reporting entity further classifies 6 classes of the entities which may be reporting entities. One is person carrying on activities for playing games. Secondly, Inspector General of Registration. Third, real estate agents. Fourth, dealer in precious metals. And fifth, person engaged in safekeeping and administration of cash and liquid securities. And sixth category is person carrying on such other activities as the central government may by notification so designate from time to time. So now under this 6th class, these 2 notifications have been issued. So first 5 classes have already been prescribed in the Act, and in these classes, reporting entities are specified. Who may be the reporting entities? Either person who is doing playing games or running casino, or Inspector General of Registration, or real estate agent. I mean, these are the class of the persons who are the reporting entities. But so far as these 2 notifications are concerned, here the reporting entity is not specified, is not clear. Any person can be reporting entity. By reading of these notifications, which is coming out, it is not restricted. Even the first notification of 3rd May, which just Amitji discussed, that practicing CA, CS, CMA are inclusive entities. But it is not restricted to these only 3 classes. Any person, relevant person, who in the course of his profession doing any of the 5 activities mentioned therein may be the reporting activity. So the class of the persons who may be reporting activity, even for the notification of 3rd May, it is not restricted only to the practicing CS, CMA. It may be any person, profession, the professional in his professional duties. It may be an advocate also. It may be a non-qualified CA, semi-qualified CA also. That he is doing profession does not mean only when you are pursuing the profession of CS, CWA. Only that is the profession. In the if you see the definition of profession under the Income Tax Act, it is quite wide. So in the course of his profession, any person may be there. So now the issue remains that who would be the reporting entity. So if it is in general, any person can be reporting activity. And similarly, if I make a distinction with the second notification of 9th May, there it is in the course of business. So these 2 notifications, because if we see the 6th clause of SA definition, that is person carrying on such activities as may be defined by notification. Person carrying on a business or profession. So business or profession, these are 2 classes. So the notification of 3rd May is for the when you are doing the activity in the course of profession, and the notification of 9th May is when you are doing the activities in the course of business. So these are 2 classes, and for these 2 classes, 5 activities have been prescribed in these 2 different notifications. But at the same time, it is not restricted to the specified professions only, as we have already discussed this point. So now the issue comes that we will have to see that for these reporting entities, what is the obligation under the Act. So there are sections 11A to section 15, which is prescribing primarily 4 things which are required. One is to take the KYC. Second, to maintain the records. Third, to make due diligence of specified transactions. And fourth, to submit the information or report or details whenever asked by the director of the enforcement. These are the 4 requirements which have been prescribed in these sections, as well as in the rules which govern, which prescribe that in what manner the information is to be given. But so far as I understand, that when reporting requirement has been prescribed by these notifications, still there are certain deficiencies for proper reporting or for making the point clear how and in what manner reports are to be sent. because the rules, rule 9 and 10, present rules 9 and 10, they are prescribing the report to be sent only when there is a account opened, or account relationship with the client. Either it may be a bank account or it may be an account. Because earlier the reporting entities were banks, financial institutions, and intermediaries, where account is opened by the client. But so far as now the extended reporting entities by these notifications, there is no account opened. So I mean, the requirement of reporting in what manner is to be done, maybe in course of time, some rules may be prescribed with respect to these reporting entities which are covered by these notifications, and the activities which are covered. Because there are two things. One is reporting entity, and second is activities which are required to be covered. Now, if a professional is, the second question comes that for these professionals, the KYC or due diligence, it is required only with respect to the 5 activities or these activities which have been given in these notifications, or it is required with respect to all the clients they are dealing, or they are providing the services of any nature. So far as I understand, and my opinion is, it has to be restricted only to the activities which are prescribed in these notifications. If any person in course of his profession or business is undertaking any of the activities as prescribed, only then KYC, due diligence, maintenance of record, and reporting requirement should arise. But still, I mean, that point is not very clear. Other distinguished speakers may also throw light on this, but I feel that we will have to wait till rules are prescribed for this purpose. And I am sure that the present rules are not giving proper guidelines how the reporting for these activities by these reporting entities or by any person, because now any person is reporting entity as per these notifications, is to be done. Then rules may be prescribed where the points may be made clear. This is one part, so far as the analysis of these notifications is concerned. But since the regulators, the past presidents of the institutes are also on the panel, I would like to understand that whether, as per the code of ethics of our institutes, of all the 3 institutes, these kind of activities which have been prescribed in these notifications are permitted to be undertaken by a practicing professional, or is there any restriction? I mean, I understand that a normal practitioner does not undertake any of these activities. It is only because, as Amitji said, that it is not when you are advising to the client on these activities, you are not covered. If you are carrying on these activities on behalf of a client, only then you are covered. And carrying on means actually executing, either as a power of attorney holder or as a representative assessee, representative person, representative director. Generally, what happens that the foreign companies coming to India, they do give the authorities to the persons that on our behalf you buy you set up all the business. They give the power attorney to buy the land, to set up the business, to operate the bank account, etc. So probably it is those kind of transactions which are required or which are intended to be covered by these notifications. If you are giving the advice, if you are giving as a consultancy for any of these activities, still you are not covered. You are covered when you are actually executing, so far as the first notification is concerned. And so far as the second notification is concerned, there also it is not, I mean, these kind of activities can, if taken by any person, then reporting is required. So whether a professional, as per the code of ethics or as per the disciplinary parameters of the institute, is permitted to take all these activities which are mentioned here. If they cannot take, whether institute has any mechanism to take the action against the practicing professionals who are undertaking these kind of activities. I mean, this is one part. This is, I'm just throwing a question which may be addressed by any of the past regulators of the institute. So, and so far as the second notification is concerned, I guess, again, it is not clear that who would be the reporting entity, as I have already discussed. So any person will become very wide term. and how that is to be regulated, that will also become very cumbersome. So maybe that some guidelines in this regard may be prescribed by way of rules or by way of further clarification, where who is required to report in what manner may be prescribed. We will have to wait and see till these kind of amendment or these kind of clarifications are issued by the government. Thank you very much. I have given my opening remarks and my understanding about these notifications. There is a very distinguished panel. We will further have the discussion, and then we can discuss the further issues as in question answer or as a panel discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Agrawalji. No doubt you have analyzed simultaneously. You have, because everybody is reading from own points, and the point which you have added, the business. So we have expert panel with us, and Anil Agrawalji is there, and he will speak. He has requested to speak at the last. Okay. So I am requesting him, please note down all the points, all the confusion of our speakers also, or their interpretation, and you can try to do this. So now next is because this law is there and the law is providing, because we have summarized this. CSCS are now treated as designated person, and they are the reporting entity, and they will keep KYC. And what is the generally Aadhaar and passport. Reporting entity will keep a record of financial transaction done in entity form or which they will provide services. Professionals shall ask client about their suspicious financial transaction and report if found to be wrong. Whenever asked for these, record must be provided to authorities. In case default, they will be penalized for 1 lakh rupees as per section 4. So this is one interpretation of this. But when we go deep into this, then some other issues will come. Now over to you, Amit. You please tell us. My request to all the speakers, because we have tried to call multiple facet professional, so we can get their ideas, their point and their things. So over to you, Amit. And
yeah,
then
I will be very short. Thank you, sir. I will just start from where Dr. Agarwal has rested the discussion. And the point I think that is the most important is whether a professional falls in the definition of a reporting entity or not. If he falls, then yes, he is covered in the regulatory regime of PMLA, and he is required to do KYC, he is required to do due diligence, he is required to do enhanced due diligence, and he is required to do certain reportings and providing the informations also. Now, when I think Khemka sir touched upon a point and also raised certain issues with regard to anybody who is involved in the layering of the proceeds of crime, which is the fundamental point. So whether you are a professional or you are not a professional, you are covered in the definition of person, and you will be liable to the penal consequences provided in the PMLA. So that's a different aspect. Perhaps today's discussion is not touching that particular aspect, but we are trying to limit our discussion on the professionals falling in the ambit. So the starting point is section 21WA of PMLA, which defines the term reporting entity and includes the person carrying on a designated business or profession. And now this term, person carrying on a designated business or profession, has also been further defined in the very act by way of section 21SA. And that defines and that provides almost 6 activities, which are different kind of activities, and then also gives a power to central government to notify more activities from time to time. Now, in exercise of that para 6 of 21SA, the government of India has notified on May 3rd and added 5 more activities, which are like buying, selling of immovable property, managing the money of the client, managing the bank saving and securities account, doing the contribution in the management of companies and creation, operation, management of company, LLP, and trust, so on. Further, on 9th of May 2023, they have added 5 more activities. So what happened? By virtue of notification of 3rd of May, the 5 more activities have got added. That means the persons who are related to these activities have become the reporting entity. And by virtue of further notification of 9th May, 5 more peoples have been added in the activity list. That means these all peoples also have become the reporting entity. So if you are a person who is involved as an agent in formation of a company or LLP, or if you are arranging a person as a director or secretary, or you are providing the services of a registered office address, which many of the law firms and the other peoples are doing, or if you are acting as a nominee or shareholder, or if you are acting as a trustee, then these activities are also covered now as a reporting entity. Now, they have further clarified that certain activities will not be covered as a activity as per 2(1) SA. What are those activities? Because a lot of hue and cry was there after immediately the 3rd May notification was issued. So they clarified, if I provide my premises on lease, if I provide services as an employee, or if I provide my services as a accountant, as a chartered accountant, company secretary, cost accountant, or advocate, to give a declaration under section 7 for the purpose of formation of that entity, limited to that, then you are not going to be covered. Now, let us understand what is the distinction. If you recall, a couple of years back, the Ministry of Corporate Affairs initiated certain prosecutions against the Chinese companies. And these Chinese companies, the professionals involved in these Chinese companies have been taken to the task, and they have been started the disciplinary proceedings also by the respective institutions. What was the matter? The matter was that when the investigation was done, it was found that these professionals have acted as an agent to form a company in India in bulk for the purpose of helping the people in layering of the proceeds, or for certain other purposes for which the PMLA Act has prescribed certain prosecution provisions. So if I simply incorporate, if I get a company, if I get an assignment tomorrow from some Chinese client for the purpose of formation of this company, and I sign a declaration simpliciter under section 7 of the Companies Act, I am not liable because I have acted only in my professional capacity as a advisor or consultant. Now, if I take the assignment, if the assignment nature is that you will be acting as an agent, you will be providing the directors to the company, you will be providing shareholders to the company, you will be providing the registered office address to the company, I am sure the intention is loud and clear by at least the 9th of May 2023 notification that these peoples are going to be covered. Now, Agarwal sir has raised a very valid point that needs to be tested, whether we are allowed to act as an agent to perform these kind of activities or not. That's a separate matter of deliberation, and I'm sure institute respective dignitaries are there, so they will be touching upon that. Now, believing that whatever we have understood, that if we continue the same example of Chinese company where, without going into debate whether it is permitted or not, believing that it is permitted, what kind of diligence we are required to make? Because if we see what is the obligation, now we have understood that we will be covered as a reporting entity. Now, once we have understood that we are falling in the ambit of a reporting entity, what are the obligations of a reporting entity? There are 4 primarily reporting entity obligation. One, that you will make the necessary verification of identity of a client and the beneficial owner. What is the meaning of that? That you will be undertaking a prescribed KYC. What is the prescribed KYC? For certain transactions, they have allowed the OTP, Aadhaar OTP verification. But for certain other things like the process and services in which we are following, we will not be allowed to fetch out the Aadhaar-based OTP. What will be allowed? We'll be having a physical copy verification of your KYC document, which includes your identity card, maybe PAN card, maybe Aadhaar card, maybe passport copy, maybe the other address verification as are known to everybody. Now, similar verification is required for the beneficial owner. Now, we need not discuss what is the meaning of the beneficial owner for whom you are doing this transaction. So maybe the client, let me take the example that I have got the assignment from one law firm, and law firm has ultimately got the assignment from some Chinese client for the purpose of parking his proceeds of crime in India somewhere. Then beneficial owner is somewhere sitting in China, and you will be required to do the KYC for the Chinese company who has given that mandate also. That's the one message which is coming from section 11A. Secondly, as per section 12, you will be required to maintain a record of all transactions. So that is a second leg, which is an important obligation on the part of the reporting entity, that you have to maintain the record. And record maintenance is not simpliciter that you are maintaining the record. You are, let us say, you are receiving a share capital from the person who want to park his money. So you have to maintain one complete chain as to in which bank account you have received that money, what is the trail, so that you can establish it as a separate identical transaction. Separate transaction could be able to identify, that is the mandate, that you should not say that this much money I have received, where it has gone, I am not aware. No, that is not the case, because the section 12 very categorically put the requirement that you have to maintain as a separate transaction. Now, let us say you have received X amount of money in share capital, and then further out of that X, Y amount of money has been invested in some real estate. Now, for the second transaction, you again need to maintain it as a separate chain as to when this money was given, in how many tranches the money was given, in how many layers this money was given. Maybe you have formed one SPV, and then from that SPV, the money has been parked to some other entity, or maybe you have given the money to some other person, and from that person, the money has gone. So this is a complete process which has been prescribed in section 12. Then reporting obligations are prescribed in section 12A, that there will be twofold requirement. I think I have also the same question what Dr. Agarwal was having. Presently, the reporting obligations are framed as if we are falling in the BFSI category, that is banking, financial institution, insurance, right? But unfortunately, we are not falling in any of those criteria. So we will be acting as a professional. Perhaps what I understand, in times to come, the respective rules will further be modified, and the reporting obligations for the professional will be slightly different, and the reporting pattern may be slightly different. Maybe it can overlap, it can fall with the existing requirement also as far as the utilization of money is concerned, where you are putting the money to the immovable property or to gold or to some other mechanism where the money is being parked. But certainly it will require more particulars to be noted. Now, another important information that is required to be done is by way of section 12AA, which was touched by Amit Khemka ji also, that if your transaction falls in the specified transaction. Now, what is a specified transaction is also very categorically defined in section 12AA itself. And it says that if your transaction happens to be a specified transaction where your withdrawal or deposit in cash exceeds a prescribed amount, or if you are doing a foreign transaction, it exceeds the prescribed amount of foreign transaction, or if you are doing any imports, then prescribed beyond the prescribed value of the import transaction, will be covered as a specified transaction. So if you are dealing, let us say I am a company secretary who is providing services as an agent, and I am dealing as a import proceeds. I am allowed as a director. Let us say I am a director of a company and I am receiving the import proceed. Then immediately the obligation comes to me also that I will be doing the enhanced due diligence in respect of these transactions. Or if I am, let us say as a director, I am withdrawing the money beyond 10 lakh rupees from the bank. Then I am as a reporting entity required for enhanced due diligence in respect of these particular transactions. So these transactions are specified. This is nothing new. These requirements have been there for the BFSI sector from the past also. Now only thing that has been added is that these professional who we have talked about, who are now going to be covered as a reporting entity, will also be required to do all these kind of KYCs and maintain these kind of record, make the necessary reporting. Now, what is the takeaway? If I talk about the takeaway, then expectation of a professional should be that before you onboard any of your client, then you are required to do KYC. I'm not suing the transaction KYC, but let us say some Chinese company is coming to you for taking any of these services as an agent. Then you should ask the KYC of an individual who is a promoter or proposed promoter, who is a director, which are the entities which are going to be involved, and you should undertake the due diligence in respect of these all entities, whether individual or they are the entities. Then only you will be able to safeguard your interest over a period of time. And also you should see the red flags, and red flags are coming from the media report, red flags are coming from the regulator, red flags are coming from the reports which are generated from time to time by the, and the reports which are coming from the regulatory framework. So you have to be watchful that if you already know that certain companies in the China have been subjected to a lot of investigation in India and you are undertaking, then you are in a high risk zone. That is what the message is coming loud and clear from the regulator side also, that you have to be extra careful. While doing a transaction, you have to undertake a due diligence. Two aspects. One is legality of that transaction and one is the authority that you are having with regard to doing that particular transaction. So due diligence, we all understand, we are all professional, we know how to undertake the due diligence in respect of a particular transaction, understanding the legality of that particular transaction, and especially from the PMLA perspective, and also ensure that you have the sufficient authority in respect of the same. And as lastly, as I mentioned already, that enhanced due diligence will be required in respect of the specified transaction that we have discussed. And in those cases, you will be required to ensure the legality, authority, and execution is also as per the provisions of PMLA Act and the rules and the notification issued from time to time. I'll stop at this point of time, and maybe once we come back after the discussion, first round, we'll again discuss something further.
Okay, thank you very much, Amit, for giving that what professional should expected to do. Let's discuss further. Now you are aware that we have requested 3 institutes stalwarts. Vinod ji, Sanjay Gupta ji, Anil Gupta ji. So now I'll request Vinod Jain ji to give his views on this topic, that what role to be played by 3 institutions in laying down assurance standard, guidance note, code of conduct, and his own views that how we should protect our professional community, that they should not do any mistakes. Over to you, Vinod Jain ji.
Thank you very much, Pawanji, for actually inviting me along with so dignified people here. Sanjay ji there, Anil Gupta ji is there, Amit Gupta ji is there. And of course, Anil Agarwal ji, a leading personality who is always there. Raj Agarwal ji, I'm not able to see, GP Madan ji, of course. So, sir, I think coming back straight to the topic, I'm not going to repeat what has already been said very rightly by Shri Raj Agarwal ji or Amit Gupta ji. The one point which I want to touch is what about code of ethics, whether code of ethics permits such activities. I think code of ethics will permit, is very clear.
विनोद जी आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही। विनोद जी आप अपना वीडियो ऑफ कर लो। विनोद
I
जी
think can you get disconnected from the laptop? I am now on the my mobile.
okay.
I'll continue, sir.
Yeah, please.
So what I was saying is that the code of ethics, of course, one can't really start doing buying and selling of immovable property, etc. on their own, but can always assist the client, can become a power attorney holder wherever it is required. I think one has to remain as a professional. All these activities which are covered in the 3rd May 2023 is primarily when you are actually doing these activities as a professional. When you are doing this as a professional, only then these activities are covered. And when you're not acting as a professional, these activities are not covered. We are receiving several questions whether we should continue certificate of practice or whether it is only with those people who are holding certificate of practice. So I think my message to those people is that in case you are actually, whether you are holding certificate of practice or not holding certificate of practice, you will not really fall into this. But if you undertake practice areas without holding certificate of practice, then of course institute will catch hold of you, because it is prohibited to undertake practice without holding certificate of practice. So there's no point thinking in that direction. The obligations which have come from 3rd May 2023, notifications are not very large obligations in my view. And this is primarily in the backdrop that FATF team is coming to India in the November 2023 to really undertake an assessment of India, actually whether what India is doing as far as anti-money laundering is concerned. And chartered accountants, company secretaries, and cost accountants are proud participants in supporting India in this particular activity, and to enable us to actually identify and ensure that no money laundering activity really happens. And Amit Khemkaji, of course, very rightly said that when you're acting as a professional and when you're dealing, suppose, with client money, when you're managing his client money, then of course you are covered. But when you are dealing with client money, suppose put to pay taxes or to meet expenses, client has given you money, you are supposed to keep it in a separate bank account, then that of course is not covered by this notification. Similarly, when you are actually managing money of the client or managing bank account of the client as a bank signatory, then possibly as a professional, if you're doing it, you will be definitely covered in this particular notification. Now, another term which is used is organization of contribution. I think organizing contribution, suppose you actually take a commitment to the client that, okay, I'll arrange funds for you from PE funds, from the bank or from NBFC, and you charge a professional fee. That means you're organizing funds for your startup, you enter into a commitment with them, then obviously you are actually covered. You're doing it as a professional activity. This is a permitted professional activities to be a financial advisor, and to do this activity on behalf of somebody else, when you're actually making presentations, when you actually make a commitment to bring contribution. But when you're giving only professional advice, then of course it is not covered. That I think, in my view, this line of interpretation is very, very thin. And where you actually try and undertake this activity for and on behalf of another person, then of course you are covered. Similarly, power attorney, if you have removed property, you transfer, then of course it is there. I think the latest notification which has come of 9th May 2023, in my humble submission, apply only to a person who is doing these activities in the course of a business. And when you're doing in the course of business, you are not a professional. I don't think this really apply to people who are actually undertaking profession there, because it is talking following activities when carried out in the course of business on behalf or for another person. So in my humble submission, when you're doing it on your own, suppose you are providing somebody a registered office or you are acting as a trustee, then possibly it is not covered. But when you are arranging it for somebody, it is proposed to be covered. But for professionals, when you are doing it as a professional activity, then I don't think it is going to be covered, because it is talking of in the course of business, and in the course of business, in the course of profession. So my reading of this is that the 3rd May notification actually applied to professionals, and the 9th May notification actually relates to business. The only confusion which is created is clause C of explanation, which is talking in terms of that any activity like this certification under section 7, and I think acting as a formation agent. So acting as a formation agent is not a professional activity. And when you are signing this as a under section 7, that whether the activities have been completed as a CA, cost accountant, or as company secretary as permitted in the law, that exception has been created. That exception, in my view, of course, was not necessary, and that is not relevant to this particular notification. Now, I think Pawanji has raised a very important issue, whether we need to really bring some changes to our code of ethics, or whether we need to actually do some change in our practice of audit, etc. In my humble submission, the standard of auditing which are there currently adequately take care of this. So whenever, even otherwise, when you are undertaking your audit activity or undertaking any professional activity, you are supposed to be diligent, and the due diligence is definitely there. CA Institute has already mandated mandatory KYC and know your client very clearly. And this, of course, is the mandate. And the message, of course, from the CA Institute is very clear, that don't we deal with an unknown person. When you start dealing with a person, make a thorough inquiry. Whosoever is your client, come to you, you check his background, check proper references, check his financial background, check his professional background, check his criminal background, and then only after that you undertake him as a client.
I think his connection is so. I will now Vinodji's connection. I think he has completed his point. So now I'll request Sanjay Gupta ji to share his thought on the basis of CMA point of view, that what he thinks and what are the issues.
Yeah, good evening, everyone.
Sorry, I think it got disconnected. I think Mr. Sanjay Gupta proposed to start. Sanjay ji, just give me a minute. I'm just concluding. Yeah. I got disconnected again. So what I was trying to say was that, whenever you are undertaking, whether audit you are undertaking, whether you are doing accounting activity, whether you're doing any professional activity, whether you're helping somebody in buying and selling of immovable property, or managing clients' money or managing their bank accounts, it is very important to see that no money laundering activity is happening. As far as reporting is concerned, you're supposed to report only those transactions where there is a cash transactions of more than rupees 10 lakhs. Whenever more than 10 lakhs with a single person, of course, if you're dealing in cash, then you are definitely supposed to report. If there are suspicious transactions, then also you're supposed to report. And I think if you're not, one more thing is whenever there is a dealing of a counterfeit currency, then of course you're supposed to report. So we need to, of course, guide our clients during our audit process as well as our professional activity, that India is poised for fighting against money laundering, because we already suffered by terrorism. So it is duty of every chartered accountant, every company secretary, every cost accountant, rather every citizen of this country to cooperate and support the government. These notifications have come the right way. And I think chartered accountants should see it as an opportunity of helping the government to ensure that no money laundering activity takes up in this country. It is not a challenge. It is an opportunity. I'd like to say this. Thank you so much. I'll conclude here, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Now, Sanjay ji, your view.
Good evening, everyone. And I really, thank you to Pawanji for inviting me here. I was just listening to Dr. Agarwal ji and a very senior Vinod ji. And GP Madan is a dear friend. And I think Amit ji and Agarwal has, Agarwal ji has given a lot of deliberation and given a lot of insight. And the day it has come, I think still, a lot of debates are going in the different groups with the different regulators, how things are going to shape up. But I think as a professional, we all know this is why this has come into. There was a reason for a long time. There's a lot of interaction with the different ministries, what is happening, what are the issues are coming with the professionals. And there were so many issues were coming up, as Amit was also mentioning on the Chinese thing. So that has also taken one of the viewpoints for coming up with this kind of amendments. So a lot of clouds, but still is there. What is covered, what should be, and what should be the amendment in the respective institutions, what the institute code of conduct or the ethics, how much it is getting covered or not. But if you look at, the PMLA, the scope is really very, very high. And it's very vast actually, from putting the monetary policy penalties to cancellation of the licenses and the rigorous interrogations, and to produce any records and whatever they want, one has to produce. But if you look at, the CARO and whatever the assurance standards and guidance issued by the different professional bodies, and it is ethical standards applicable to the professionals, the responsibility definitely is there towards the detection and reporting of fraud and the suspicious transactions. Now, under the PMLA, the professionals will find it very difficult to take the plea. Their duty is not to detect suspicious transactions while carrying out the assignments. And even if we look at the other countries, I think one of the legal professionals is still an exemption. But if we talk about the anti-money laundering regulation of the UK and some other countries, legal professionals also considered as relevant persons like finance or compliance professionals. So this is a point I think we need to take as an institution. And then if you talk about the background check, definitely whenever you're taking an assignment, we have to come out with a very robust, dynamic, and aligned to the risk profile of the client which we are taking. And it is very critical to fully understand the background of the client, the culture of the organization before accepting the assignment. And in case you refuse to continue, now we have seen a lot of cases are coming up like this, the reasons has to be given why you don't want to continue. And the same investigation has to be done at a very bigger levels. And when you're carrying out the assignments, when at the peer reviews and other areas, when we're looking at the institution point of view, we should see, we should identify the changes in the patterns, especially when we're talking about the costing. We could see the turnovers, the costing, the profit margins, so many changes you can see. And you can find all of a sudden the very unusual transactions, which can give a red flags. So we have to deploy the various techniques and the tools to form a considered view or report or not. And the existence of some of the entities outside the countries and the jurisdiction with the different set of laws make it more difficult to know about the suspicious transactions. So now it is very empowered, even PMLA, I can say, as Vinodji was also mentioning, if you took it in a positive side, now it is empowering you as a professional to collect relevant details. Sometimes, earlier the clients may not be submitting that kind of a data, but now after this, the professional can have every right under this to ask for all the information what they're looking for. And it is expected the relevance, whatever the relevant professional bodies are there, they have to come with the additional guidance notes, and they have to, over and above the existing standard and the guidance, they have to facilitate their members in compliance with the new requirements. And definitely, they need to exercise proper care, more circumspect, and undertake a greater degree of diligence. If we talk about the PMLA rules are not one-off rules, and they sometimes complement and strengthening of accounting standards and auditing regulations from enhanced shareholders' right and overall regulatory oversight. But what is important is, now when we as India, if you look at the different, the way the changes are coming, the way we are talking about even when the institution is being called for all the meetings. So definitely the way country is progressing, and we have ambition to create a new international service centers, which is starting with a gift city. And we are talking about the businesses from, the UK, Dubai, Singapore, and all other countries to the reputation of running a foolproof financial sector regulatory mechanism has to be built up. If we talk about the IFRS, or when we are talking about, why the big fours are being relied more. So definitely when we at the institution, whether it's a company secretary, whether it's a cost accountant, whether it's a chartered accountant, the time has come, we need to introspect. And I should rather feel it is one of the way, it's an opportunity for all the people. Even Pavanji, I think he will also agree with me, because when he started, I could see he's always a game changer. When he started the things way back in 2004-5, the thing, whatever the vision he had, nobody can think of. So in the future, when the world is going global, and we all as a professionals are all expected to practice all over the countries. And now, we have the global arrangements. If you talk about the institution, we have a different MRAs and different things. So definitely the greater responsibilities and role of a professional comes into this. And if you talk about if we talk about the Financial Action Task Force, which I think possibly they are coming in all-side assessment in the way back in November. And the assessment is likely to come up the discussion in the plenary discussion in the June next year. So this has become very, very important. So now, till you are proven, because under PMLA, till you're proven guilty, you have to take a very tough bail conditions under Section 24. It is the judiciary also to look into. And especially, even I was discussing with Pavanji, if you talk about the insolvency professional work, IBC, which Pavanji was saying, we are shortly going to come on this. I think if we study this IBC and what has happened all over the years, if you talk about the transaction audit, where the professional went wrong, why there was no early red flags were being raised, why there was a evergreening. So these are the area which has resulted into this kind of a things today. So definitely as an institution, we are always in touch with the different authorities. We are trying to convince till the professional is a guilty or he's actually, you find a part of it. Even Anil Gupta is very, I request him also to use the good offices, because till the date it has come, all the professionals are feeling the pinch of it. But what we as a feeling, whatever the existing regulations, the code of ethics and conducts which are being there, if the professionals start following it rigorously, and you maintaining that books of accounts, and you're studying, getting the data, and the moment you're getting into a transactions, I think is going to change the way the working is, because after the automation and the artificial intelligence, now it will become very, very imperative. And even when you're taking an assignment, now it's very easy to get the due diligence of a client. So this has to be, as an institution also, now we have to bring in this, our audit checklist, audit programs, code of ethics, these are the things. And especially when we are talking about the peer reviews, I think that has to change the shape of the things. I was starting another session, so I was requesting Pavanji, so I have to leave early. So I think these are some of my thoughts, with this, and I think we'll be taking it forward. I am hopeful. I think this will be eye-openers for all the three institutions and all the professionals. And definitely, whenever everything comes, we take it as a, big thing or big liabilities or big issues. But if we, at the end of the day, I'm feeling the more the clouds will be clear and more the good people. Today, what is happening, even the bad apples and the good apples, both are suffering. So at least the bad apples should suffer only.
Okay.
So they are going to feel the pain. I think this is the clarity which is going to come soon, and we as a professional and all the institutions should take the right step in this regard.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sanjay ji. I know you have to give lecture immediately and going to the dais. Thank you very much for your point. Now, Anil Gupta ji.
Thank you.
You are also in the council of the CS Institute as a government nominee. Government nominee means you are directly connected to the government and representing there in the council. So what are your thoughts and what you think that professional body should do, because you have to protect the interest of the professionals also? Because if you say you have to do due diligence, you have to do KYC. KYC is not restricted to only just seeing your face on Aadhaar, that's sufficient. You have to do something more also. So doing a small transaction and doing something. So what are your thoughts? What you are thinking as a nominee of government in this professional body? Over to you, Anil.
Thank you. Thank you, Pavanji. First of all, I'm so thankful to you for extending this invitation to me. I am thankful to the corporate professionals also. Very good evening to all my co-panelists. Very good evening to all the participants. You see, three issues are coming in my mind to cover I will be covering during my deliberation. The first is the role of the professionals, the three professionals, CA, CS, and CMAs. One must come out and help the government in finding out those who are doing the money laundering. There is no reason for a professional to indulge in the money laundering. Secondly, the worry of the government with respect to the Chinese company, that's absolutely right. And I endorse the views of the government. And as professionals, we must help the government, because the way our economy is progressing and the worries of the government. So worries of the government are, if solved, then our country will progress more. So in my opinion, as a partner in the nation building, we must act diligently and we must take care of the activities that we indulge in. Now, why this hue and cry? So I am raising 2-3 issues. There are two notifications. One is the 3rd May notification and other is the 9th May notification. Now, what's the difference between the two and why there is so much hue and cry? The very first question is, was there any hue and cry before 3rd of May? I don't think. As a chartered accountant, I never heard anyone discussing the PMLA as we are discussing today. And very frankly, the topic that has been given is the implications on the CACS and CMAs. So in my opinion, the 9th May notification has nothing to do with the practicing chartered accountant, company secretaries or CMAs. They have nowhere mentioned it. It has been rightly pointed out by Shri Vinod Jainji that in the course of business, that's the term they have used. So in the course of business, it can be anyone. So not merely chartered accountant, company secretary or CMAs. So my opinion is that this 9th May, no one should be worried about as a practicing chartered accountant or CMA. Now let's come to 3rd May. In 3rd May, why this hue and cry started? First of all, they use the term financial transaction. Nowhere they have defined the word financial transaction. I take it that the transaction they have defined in the rule and the other transactions activities are there in the section. So I feel that, okay, financial transaction is also more or less like that. Then the 4 words that they have used, the 4 terms, those terms are creation, operation, management, and contribution. Had they defined these terms, the hue and cry would not have been there. It's our opinion that advisory role is not covered. I do agree. But you see what happens. A number of professionals are getting summons from the authorities, maybe CBI, ED, EOW, or FIUs. And they are getting notices because some client has been NPA. Tax auditors are being called, company secretaries are being called, chartered accountants are being called. So when this happens in the country, it becomes difficult for a professional to digest these 4 words. You see, the questions that I am getting personally, in the Mufassil towns of the country, most of the practicing professionals are in the smaller towns of the country. What they are doing, they deposit taxes on behalf of the clients, GST, TDS, income tax, and even MCA fees. Now, whether that will fall in the creation, operation, management or not, no one knows. Whether that is managing the client money, no one knows. I am not saying that it will fall in this or not, but there is a lot of ambiguity. So someone need to clarify this ambiguity. Secondly, this 9th May, when they have exempted chartered accountant advocates from the formation of a company with respect to section 7, then another clarification could have been given in 3rd May that auditors are not covered. They have exempted advocates. No? So they could have exempted auditors also, because what happens when the chartered accountants visit authorities, they are whether an auditor or not auditor, but they are asked the questions. So my first humble submission is that there should be exemption for the auditor. Now let's come to the point of view of reporting needed. 2 types of reports are there generally. One is compulsive reporting, when the format is there, form is there, requirement is there. So you have to submit to the authorities, like the tax audit in the case of a chartered accountant. There is a form, chartered accountant has to fill it and give his comments on it. That's a compulsive reporting. Other is exceptional reporting. Exceptional reporting, the fit example is 143.12, the fraud. If there is a fraud, you fill ADT4. If there is not, you are not supposed to do any action. So in this particular case of PMLA, whether it's compulsive reporting or whether it's exceptional reporting, it's no clarity is there. Thirdly, on the behalf of all the 3 institutes, I am making request to all the 3 institutes. They have welcomed this notification. I also welcome it. But institutes, with the help of FIU or on its own, they should form a task force. That task force should come out with the FAQs. And FAQs, whatever the questions that has been raised by this intelligent speakers, and whatever questions are coming from the participants on our screen itself, all those questions, in addition to that, further questions can be added in the FAQs. It will help a lot. Secondly, what type of reporting is needed? You see the rule, under this rule, there is a rule under section, rule number 9, client due diligence. Now, client due diligence requires so much. Now, all this is to be covered, because who are worried professionals? Worried professionals are those who are not practicing in the PMLA field. Those who are practicing in the PMLA field, these two notifications have nothing to do with them. It's an opportunity, I do agree. But those who are not, what should they do? So they are feeling worried. And that's 95% of the professional brothers and sisters. So someone need to address it. So what I require from the other request to the institutes, that some task force be made. Recently, when this Schedule 3 and CARO were amended, a task force was formulated by the MCA, and the representative of the CA, CS, RBI, SEBI, all were there. So similar type of task force can be formulated, and these clarifications can be given. Next is that with respect to advocates, I have 3 requests to make. You see, due diligence generally professionals do. So when professionals perform due diligence, they get privacy to the client's information. They get privacy to the client's information. Then one can allegate the person who is carrying the due diligence that he was knowing that he has indulged in this information, or he has indulged in such type of activities. He may or may not have, because due diligence means that he is covering this engagement from the point of view of all the acts. So how one can say that advisory role is not there? It is very much there in these 3 terms that they have used. So these 3 terms are so broadened that it has created fear in the mind of the professionals. They want to have the government, but this is not the way that the government is asking for the help. And my last request is that due diligence professional advocates also give. Advice advocates also give. So if a chartered accountant, company secretary, and CMA can be covered, then why not advocate giving the advice? There has to be equality under the Constitution of India. Managing the business. So if the advocate is managing a business, he is exempted. If for these 3 professionals are managing the business, they are covered. So there has to be some equality. So I am stopping my deliberations here with the request. Number 1, if the government can come with the clarifications, nothing to beat it. That will be very nice. And in the meantime, there are certain organizations like corporate professionals, or as was referred to while introducing Raj Agarwalji, BVSS Bharti Vislakar Smiti is there. They can come with some FAQs, which will help the professional brothers in this nation building process, and helping the professionals in moving this economy to the newer heights. And let's strive hard to make this country a Vishwaguru. Thanks a lot to Pavanji.
Thank you, Anilji. Thank you. You have forcefully mentioned the issues and suggested action plan.
Pavanji, before we proceed, let me just make a small point, which Anilji has just referred. And this is a question which is being referred in so many circles, that why advocates are not covered. So far as Amitji made this point very clear in the beginning, and let me also repeat it, that the notification of 3rd May says relevant person in the course of his profession doing the following activities. Relevant person may be any person. They have only said in the explanation that relevant person will include. Include means these 3 persons are included, which primarily involved in these activities. But apart from these, any other professional who is undertaking these activities will also be covered. So therefore, advocates, if they are taking any of these 5 activities, are also covered by this notification.
Okay, let there be clarification. I agree with you.
Yes.
So thank you, Raji. You have also clarified this point, and this is a question everybody is asking, that why advocate is left out. So in the next 9th circular, they have added word of advocate, but they have added in a different connotation. So advocates are exempted from this.
I mean, that is exclusion. That is not inclusion.
That also.
And that exclusion is for all. I mean, if you are creating a company as a witness or as a professional in consultancy basis, then either advocate or CS, they are not covered. But 9th May notification is for any person. So it is not restricted to CS, CSWA, advocate, or anybody else. Any person, it is covered. Amit endorse whatever I am saying. Amit has already stated this, and he can again reform it.
No, that I think Rajji is right. It is, and in fact, there was good clarification given by Amit Gupta ji that these two notifications are actually applicable to everybody. So far as you are working on behalf of someone else, you are covered. That is, that the on behalf of is the keyword in both the notifications. Doing it at arm's length, you are not covered. In my opinion, that would be the interpretation. That is the interpretation which can be the best. Of course, what Anil Gupta ji said, that there are lots and lots of questions. And as the time passes, because we wanted to hear all the panelists here, and Anil Gupta ji has actually raised lots of questions. This is not the only question he is raising. He has raised many questions, and there are clarifications required. There cannot be any doubt. But to my mind, how it is to be read is that if one is doing the job on behalf of someone else, if there is a duplicity of roles, if the job is of someone and some other person is doing, then in that case, he becomes a reporting entity. He has to keep the records then. He has to maintain the records. But if he is doing in his own capacity as a professional, in my opinion, it will not be covered.
Amitji, there are so many issues are there in this.
Yes, I agree, sir. Please carry on.
Yes. So now, question is, this law is there, and the challenge before professionals are there. So whether it's an opportunity and it's a deterrent to the profession. So I look at GP Madan to please share your thought. But my request to all the speakers, that we have a shortage of time, and Anil Agrawal ji, he's listening to everyone and he's practicing in this area. So I want to listen from his side, more point, and he can clarify so many points which is creating in the mind of all these panelists and the other public. Over to you, GP.
Thank you, Pawanji. And congratulations to corporate professionals.
अनिल जी
Sorry.
आप जीपी के बाद बोलिएगा.
अरे sorry, I withdraw myself. I'm extremely sorry.
जीपी.
My apology.
जीपी, क्योंकि because after GP Madan,
No, I thought. Sorry.
Yeah, GP Madan, please, over to you.
अनिल जी, आप एक सिस्टम से म्यूट, आप एक पे म्यूट है कि अनम्यूट है, आप दोनों पे म्यूट कर लीजिए प्लीज. थैंक यू. सभी महानुभावों को नमस्कार, और खास करके अनिल गुप्ता जी को, आर के अग्रवाल जी को, उन्होंने पंडोरा बॉक्स खोल दिया है. और मुझे लगता है अगर ये चीजें बार काउंसिल में पहुंच गई तो कल से तलवारें निकल जाएंगी. नाउ कमिंग टू दिस, पवन जी ने मेरे से पूछा है अपॉर्चुनिटीज, वेदर अपॉर्चुनिटीज अंडर दिस, अपॉर्चुनिटी challenges under this law or during under these two notifications. Though event is on under two notification, I'll confine to notification. And if you ask me, I have not found anything in these two notifications. According to me, these two notifications are only clarificatory in nature. That what has been included, what should be treated, what should not be treated, what can be excluded, what cannot be included. There is a clarification only, nothing more than that. Because if you read the definition of the term, the word money laundering under the Act, it says whosoever. The word starts with the definition. The definition starts with the word whosoever, directly or indirectly, indulges, knowingly assists, or knowingly a party, or actually involved. in any process or activity connected with the process of crime. So who is left out of this? According to me, this is applicable to everybody. And then I come to this. I'm sorry. Yeah, this it's for the definition says, number one, knowingly a party or actually involved or indulgence. My humble submission is whosoever is targeted by the authority, we need to understand three things rather. Number one, whether there is any malafide intention or not. Next is, I try to invoke the provisions of section 149(12) of Companies Act 2013 with respect to independent directors, where it says very clearly, unless the independent director is having the knowledge or having given his consent or is having connivance, only then he is liable, otherwise he is not liable. Same principle should be made applicable here. Next, I am also reminded of 2nd March 2020 circular of Ministry of Corporate Affairs, where it says that the independent directors and non-executive directors cannot be issued any notice by the adjudicating authority unless there is proof or evidence, conclusive proof of evidence with the adjudicating authority with it. So unless you have all this, you cannot involve these individuals, whether they are directors or independent directors, and I'll say whether they are professionals who are covered here, who are targeted to be covered here in these two notifications.
तो पता है यार, मेरा बाप मुझे आशीर्वाद के अलावा कुछ देता नहीं है, मैं कहाँ लेना हूँ यार पैसे? यार अस्सी कैसी बात है यार?
May I continue?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, thank you. Then I come to 2-3 definitions which have been read earlier also by earlier speakers. One is a reporting entity. And reporting entity talks about a banking company, financial institution, intermediary, or a person carrying on a designated business or profession. And when we go to this definition of this person carrying on a designated business or profession, section 2(1) SA, which deals with person carrying on business, designated business or profession, and subclause 6 is the main clause under which these two notifications have been issued. And that subclause 6 says, person carrying on such other activities as central government may by notification so designate from time to time. So now the central government is deriving its power here, and central government has issued these two notifications. If you come to the notifications, 3rd May 2023 notification and 9th of May 2023 notification. As somebody said very rightly, the 9th of May is there is no talk about CA, CMA or CS or advocates. Rather, there are exclusions. That following activities or following professional while to do these activities will not be treated, will not be covered within the ambit of this legislation. Now, 3rd May 2023 notification talks about activities. Now, whether those activities otherwise are not part of PMLA, according to me, they are already part of PMLA. Only thing is that now they have been specifically defined here that these 5 activities shall be treated or shall be governed by this particular legislation. And then below this notification is what is the definition of this term relevant person. And there they define relevant person, a chartered accountant, a company secretary, a cost accountant having a certificate of practice. Dr. Raj Agarwal raised a very pertinent question, whether only these professionals, number one, whether these professionals can carry these activities. That is the moot question. While holding a certificate of practice, can they carry these activities, or will carrying on these activities will be part of the certificate of practice? Or can't these activities be carried on by any other professional? Now, I ask a question to myself, whether if these activities are carried out by a firm of professionals who are not having any certificate of practice, an LLP of professionals who are not having certificate of practice, or a company of professionals or a management consultants
who are not having certificate of practice, but if they carry on these activities and crime money is involved there, will they not be governed by PMLA? My answer to that is they will also be governed by PMLA. So according to me, these two notifications are nothing but a clarificatory in nature. But now the professionals have been named here. According to me, this is not a challenge. This is an opportunity. This is a recognition. This is a recognition to the professionals and all those business entities who do these business activities legibly and legally. Certainly, they can now take the services of these three professionals. Yes, these three professionals are competent. They are capable, and we can get our activities done through the advice of these professionals, or we can get the execution done through these professionals. So what the precautions now the professionals have to take? According to me, they have to be transparent. Like we follow the corporate governance principle, the transparency and disclosure. The same principles we have to follow in our practice areas also, and particularly while dealing with high net worth cases, whether they're Indians or they are foreign citizens or foreign nationals. We have to do our due diligence, not only of the client, but of the transaction also. We have to do the due diligence of all the entities involved in this. We have to have our entire correspondence and communication in place. We must have all our records in place, like it has been mandated now that in audit, the audit trail file shall be maintained by the auditors. Similarly, while doing any such exercise, whether the incorporation of a company or having any financial activity or any activity of sale and purchase of land or business, we must have all our records intact. And we must keep all our records intact, not only for a period of 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. I will say throughout our lifetime. I just give you a petty small example. In the year 1995, a company stands incorporated. Two individuals, petty individuals, having a paid up share capital of 2,000 rupees at that point of time, they incorporate a company. And now that later on the company gets sold, multiple hands are there. Ultimately, now there is some fishy activities with respect to certain land transaction. And now the matter has gone to National Commission. You know, the National Commission has called all those original directors who incorporated this company in the year 1995. There have been 10 hearings. I'm representing them. 10 hearings have happened, and in the 10 hearings I have represented them. I have submitted that they have got nothing to do with this company, nothing to do with these transactions. But every day bank says, okay, next time. See how much the cost is involved, how much time is involved, how much mental agony is involved. So while doing this, whenever we have such transaction, please maintain all your records for lifetime. And as many speakers have earlier said, that if this transaction, we must ensure is in the ordinary course of profession or vocation and has to be on arm's length basis only. Please do not hesitate to ask any question to your client. Please do not hesitate to ask for any information which according to you is relevant for this particular transaction or this particular advisory. And if you follow all this, I think you are going to have opportunities. But yes, our legal system is such. Whenever somebody is made a respondent in any case, and if the notice is issued, certainly till the conclusion of the entire case, you have to defend yourself. And you will be able to defend yourself only when you have all the records, each and every document intact with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, GP Madan. Thank you very much. I'm not commenting because I have to come. I will comment at last because now we have a Bala Nadar, who is the founder of Startup Bala and who is incorporating maximum number of companies in India, online company and offline company. Over to you, Bala. How you are seeing this particular notifications?
So first of all, let me thank corporate professional team and Pawan sir this, before entering into the subject that is given to me, we all should acknowledge that running such kind of a webinar for such a long time, and that too in a consistent manner, is not a easy job. Probably in India, all over India, this might be the only organization which has conducted such variety of webinars on varied subject, and that too bringing people from such different spectrums of profession as well as business. Kudos to the entire team. The most important aspect of this kind of webinars is the way in which they have sliced it out. Only 2 notifications, just 2 pages, and there are 6 to 8 professionals or people who have different varieties of spices to add, and the way in which it is sliced out, it gives feel of everything, right? So the subject that was given to me is implications of notification with respect to incorporation of companies and LLPs. Given the fact the senior members, Khemka ji, Amit Gupta ji, now Madan sir, they have already stayed the entire show and they have answered to each of those questions in relation to incorporation. So I'll take a little a practical view of this entire discussion that is taking place, not only in this forum, throughout India. So I want to quote a former president of United States of America, Franklin Roosevelt. Now, what he says is, the only thing that one must fear is the fear itself. And these 2 notifications have very rightly created this sense of fear in the minds of the professionals, and that is the reason these discussions are going on. Now, again, in extension to this particular note that Roosevelt has mentioned, now this fear creates a positive energy as well as negative energy. Positive energy in the sense, this helps us to be alert in terms of doing the things in the manner in which it should be done. And we are only discussing 2 notifications. There are further 2 notifications which were issued in 2019, when for the first time CA, CS, and CMA were brought into this particular legal spectrum. And there is also one more notification in 2021. These notifications were never discussed in such big seriousness. However, now we are discussing it. The main reason is it has touched upon few important words and the subject of my reference here, that is incorporation of companies, management of company, and the registered office address stuff and other things. As the senior members have already explained, that 9th May notification has nothing to do with the professional. In fact, it is to specifically give an exemption that if you are undertaking incorporation of a company, you are exempted from this particular this notification. Okay. Now, I want to quote this section 7, subsection 1B of the Companies Act 2013. This is the specific provision under which a professional, chartered accountant, company secretary, or an advocate has to certify the SPICE form or previously INC 7 form for incorporation of a company. Okay. And if you are undertaking this particular activity on behalf of your client, you are exempted. So what is the premises for these 2 notifications is nothing to do with the professional activities of the professional. However, that 1 or 2% of the culprit activities, and I'm using this harsh word because every profession, every human community has kind of people who always want to go that extra mile, not in a positive way, in a negative way. And law is always made to curb those 1%, 2% of the activities. It's not for the 98% of the people across the community, across the profession or the society. Okay. Now, if you are frightened by this particular 2 notification, it means in 99% of the cases, you are never going to be called upon under the scrutiny of this notification, because this fear itself is sufficient for you to act wisely in the coming days. This is an opportunity for us to ponder upon that what kind of transaction that we are entering into. And now I want to take back to the scope of this particular law itself. Now, money laundering. the entire hue and cry is not about any notification. We are used to maintaining records. We are used to being responsible to our professional institutions. There are so many code of conducts. There are so many things which we are already accustomed to. This is nothing in comparison to the kind of responsibilities that are casted upon us by our profession and the society in general. However, this is in relation to money laundering and the word money laundering and terrorism that is attached to this particular act. Okay. Now, I want to touch upon one very important practical aspect of it. What is the definition of money laundering? Okay, we are talking about very micro level things. We have to also understand the spectrum of this particular law. What is money laundering? Money laundering is the process by which illegally obtained money is made to appear as if it has been obtained from a legitimate source. Now, what in simple terms it means is converting the black money into a white money. That's it. This entire act, it is to curb this. Now, whenever such kind of activities are done, the quantum is very, very huge. It's not for 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, the fees that 98% of the professionals who take in terms of creation management and other aspects of the professions are concerned. Okay, it is, and primarily very important aspect is, even if we consider that we are part of this particular entire game, what is the threshold amount that this particular act specifies? If it is in cash, it is 10 lakh rupees. If it is in terms of international transfers or immovable property dealing, or it is 50 lakh rupees. Okay. Now you need to identify where, in which spectrum of professional transactions that you are entering into. That is one. Second thing, what is the quantum of that money in which you are engaged in? So 98% of the professionals, if they are acting as incorporation professionals or maybe people who help others in terms of submitting tax returns or maybe paying taxes or maybe stamp duties for incorporation of companies, and if that the quantum is very high, you have to just take certain precautions that you are doing it in the process of the exempted clause, nothing else. Okay. So I think the subject given to me is very clear, that implications of notification with respect to incorporation of companies or LLP. These two notification does not implicate the professionals who are engaged in regular practice of incorporation or formation of the companies. That is one submission. The second submission is that these kind of fears, these kind of discussions will enable us to be more cautious, more wise in terms of our transactional etiquettes. Third thing is, this also gives the opportunity to the professional institutions to engage in high deliberations in terms of educating not only the professionals, but also the government authorities to keep arm's length distance in terms of differentiating the black sheep and the white and the other spectrum of people who are doing the profession in the right manner in which it has to be done. So I think with these two things, I would want to rest my views, and we would love to hear the other senior members in this forum. Thank you.
Thank you, Bala. Thank you very much. Now, over to our last all-rounder, and who has requested me that he will speak at the last after listening to all. So Anilji, now the burden is on your head, that you have to clarify this particular two circular as well as clarify the doubts in the minds of all professionals in the market. Today, in our panel discussion, you have seen there are some interpretation which are different and which are varying. So over to you. Please explain to us about these two things in right perspective. You have to unmute, sir. Anilji, you have to unmute. Your mute.
Now you are getting me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much and congratulations to corporate professional, your group of professional. Two of your group are already contributing to this webinar and two of your group have honored the post of judges and one is still honoring the post of judges, a very senior member of ITAT. And really you are contributing not only to the professional fraternity so far as you are educating them, but also rendering the required services to the needy business community. And all my respected co-panelists and audience across the world. And Dr. Ashok Haldia is joining from London, so across the world. Friends, when each and every institute in itself is a regulatory authority, whether CA Institute, CS Institute or CMA, then what was the need to put this piece of legislation to the statute book by enforcement directorate, means by under the ambit of PMLA? What was the need? This we have to understand. We have to throw light on this. In one of the most developed country, one of the most developed nation, it was just 4 years back. One minister managed, I will not say earned, he managed 14,000 crore rupees. And there is a provision, section 2(1)(r), that if any offense is committed outside India and money partly or fully transferred to India, and if offense is committed in India and money is transferred to some other country, then it will be presumed as if offense has been committed in both the countries. So that minister managed 14,000 crore rupees, and partly he remitted through electronic channel to our country. See the dramatic. And how you see ED office, the enforcement directorate assume authority only when the flow of proceed of crime comes into the picture. Somebody has committed the offense. That is not the point. When money has been raised from that offense, from the point money has been raised, then PMLA can be invoked. That section 3 can be invoked, not otherwise. Now point is how he remitted money. In Paris, twice in a year, an exhibition is organized and more than 1,000 participants attend their seminar. Now, when a walk-in customer attend a showroom in Paris and he select that I want to buy this product, and the staff of that businessman prepares an invoice and say that you remit this much money to this account, and online we will send you this product, you will get it. And he was Indian. Now that person went to the authorized dealer. Now see the drama. Authorized dealer credited the account, remitted the money to the Indian businessman. Out of that money, which was lying in the 50 shell companies, that 14,000 crore rupees. It's a case which is pending before a special court. It's a case pending before Honorable Delhi High Court. I will not name the case, but I am telling you the truth. What was the need to enact this piece of legislation to put to the statute book by under PMLA when we are the regulator? And we are not only regulated to issue the guidance note, to issue how to conduct the audit, how to arrive at a cost of all institutes. They are the stalwarts. What was the need? I'm telling you that point. Now that he got money from that shell company, that Indian businessman, and the authorized dealer who received money from that particular client intending buyer of that product, that money was credited to a right account representing that untainted money. I will within 2 minutes at the last I will explain the PMLA and the two clause by way it has been clarified. The definition has been clarified. Now there are 50 businessmen in India, and money was transferred to India. Then government of India received information from that, one of the most developed nation, I am telling you, from that country, that so much money has come to these people. These are the person who are the beneficiary of that money. And Government of India means Enforcement of Direct Office, ED office. ED office immediately issued to the bank in Connaught Place. No need to name the name of the bank. And all the bank accounts were seized immediately. The moment they received the instruction from ED office. Now we requested that you seize only that much amount. Don't seize the entire bank account. How can you close my operation? Trial, we will face the trial. My client will face the trial. Okay, they detached the bank accounts and seized only that much money which was mentioned in the list. Now, point is, you know, FATF, Financial Action Task Force, जिसका आज भी ऑफिस पेरिस में है, which is global watchdog all over the world, and they issue raw material to enact the law. How you can curb these transactions? How can you curb the drugs money? How can you curb the terrorist money? FATF बहुत ही competent professional FATF के अंदर हैं, बहुत ही competent. और FATF ने ये एक ग्लोबल वॉचडॉग ही नहीं, इनका सभी इनकी एक्सेस है सभी टॉप इन्वेस्टिगेटिंग एजेंसी के पास. जो हमारी इन्वेस्टिगेटिंग एजेंसी है उनके पास भी इनकी एक्सेस है. They suggested, and those companies were managed by professionals. I will not name anybody, but those companies, shell companies in that developed country, not in India, they were being managed by professionals, competent professional, qualified professionals. Now, need arise. Come to another point. आपने अभी पढ़ा होगा ED search, Deloitte company, ED search, KPMG. How they get information? Through web system. जब हम कॉन्फ्रेंस कर रहे हैं, आप समझ रहे हैं it is not being monitored by any investigating agency. It is being monitored. Myself and Dr. Rakesh Gupta, we were rendering our services to a multinational company. It was just 3 months back, and it was through web system, computer technology. And they were not only discussing the legal compliance, when they come to the viability of the project, which leads to evasion of taxes and so many violations, we withdraw ourselves. And Rakesh ji and myself immediately said, sorry, we are not part to your game, and we withdraw ourselves. You see, this you have to do. You have to withdraw yourself from the point you understand whether money laundering is involved or not. It is not a question कि ये हमें रिपोर्टिंग करनी है. रिपोर्टिंग तो एक लड़का बैठा दोगे, वो कर लेगा. जो ऑडिट करके आता है वो 2 मिनट में रिपोर्टिंग कर देगा, आपको दिखाएगा, आप साइन करके भेज दोगे. दैट इज नॉट द पॉइंट. उनके इसकी जरूरत क्यों पड़ी? जब हमारा इंस्टीट्यूट डिसिप्लिन कमेटी तक को मैनेज कर रहे के डिसीजन हमारे हाई कोर्ट में अप्रिशिएट होते हैं. कैन यू इमेजिन 90% डिसीजन ऑफ ईच इंस्टीट्यूट, तीनों इंस्टीट्यूट के हाई कोर्ट से कंफर्म होते हैं. हाई कोर्ट कहता है यस, राइटली यू हैव डिसाइडेड. उसके बाद हमारे को ये समझाएंगे. मैं नीड पे जा रहा हूं, क्यों जरूरत पड़ी. एक और केस है जो स्पेशल कोर्ट में चल रहा है. अब देखिए वहां क्या होता है, इस तरह की चीजें होती है कि क्लाइंट और वहां एक्यूज्ड है, वो लोग काफी प्रोफेशनल हैं उसमें. और वहां भी क्या होता है कि साहब एक क्लाइंट है, वो कहता है जी मुझको ये सर्विसेज चाहिए, ये चाहिए, हाँ जी हम करा देते हैं. और वो अपने क्लाइंट को ले जाके चेक दे देता है, 1000 करोड़ के चेक अपने क्लाइंट को ले जाके दे देता है, 1000 करोड़ के. ये मान के बोल रहा हूं फिगर की, मुझे पता है गवर्नमेंट एजेंसीज आर वाचिंग, बट मेरे में फिगर है तभी बोल रहा हूं. सीबीआई की चार्जशीट मेरे पास है, ईडी की चार्जशीट मेरे पास है. और वो प्रोफेशनल्स एक्यूज्ड है उसमें, उन्होंने ले जाके अपने क्लाइंटों को दी वो एंट्री दी, एकोमोडेशन एंट्री दी. और वो कैश ले जाके क्लाइंट को, दोनों से पैसे लिए होंगे, उससे भी लेंगे और उससे भी लेंगे, उसे कैश जनरेट करने के. उससे जब वो केस सीबीआई ने चार्जशीट फाइल की, ईडी ने चार्जशीट फाइल की, उनको बुलाया जब वो एनपीए हुआ 3,000 करोड़ रुपया, तब उनको बुलाया, तब उन्हें पता लगा हु इज गिल्टी, कैसे हम इसको कर्व करें, क्या चीज है, कैसे कर्व कर पाएंगे हम इस सब चीजों को। वहां से ये नीड राइज। इससे आगे इस केस में बताने की जरूरत नहीं है। अब पॉइंट आता है कि जो और भी काफी लर्निड स्पीकर बोल के गए कि भाई पीएमएलए में, अब एक चीज देखिए, पीएमएलए में एक टेक्निकल चीज बताता हूं, हमें सबसे बड़ी चीज ये देखनी है वेदर वी आर इन्वॉल्व in any process or activity connected with the proceeding of crime that leads to money laundering, whether we are involved or not. Otherwise, reporting, क्या है reporting? Reporting is not a problem. हमें involvement देखना है। जो भी मदान साहब ने बोला, whosoever, yes, very right. अब आप उस चीज को देखिए, सेक्शन 16 कहता है, सेक्शन 16 में है पावर टू कंडक्ट सर्वे, सेक्शन 17 कहता है पावर टू कंडक्ट सर्च एंड सीजर, ईडी की बात करें। अब आप अथॉरिटी पे आइए, जब सर्वे की बात करते हैं सेक्शन 16 में वर्ड लिखा है एन अथॉरिटी कैन कंडक्ट, एन अथॉरिटी, माइंड इट, काइंडली पे ड्यू अटेंशन टू माय रिक्वेस्ट। अब हम एनफोर्समेंट डायरेक्टरेट कहता है, जब सर्च का पॉइंट आता है तो कहते हैं ईडी ऑफिस नॉट बिलो द रैंक ऑफ डिप्टी डायरेक्टर हु आर ऑथराइज्ड फॉर दिस पर्पस, हु आर ऑथराइज्ड फॉर दिस पर्पस टू कंडक्ट द सर्च। मीन्स अगर सर्च एंड सीजर होगा तो ईडी ऑफिस से होगा, और सर्वे में एन अथॉरिटी लिखा हुआ है। व्हाट इज द डिफरेंस बिटवीन? अब सेक्शन 18 पे आइए, सर्च ऑफ पर्संस, वहां भी एन अथॉरिटी लिखा हुआ है। सेक्शन 19 पे आएंगे, सेक्शन 19 में लिखा हुआ है एनी अदर पर्सन। ये डिफरेंस क्यों है? ये एक्ट के ऑब्जेक्टिव को फुलफिल करने के लिए एक इसके लिए ये बनाया गया। एन अथॉरिटी हैज बीन डिफाइंड अंडर सेक्शन 48 ऑफ द पीएमएलए। वहां क्या कहते हैं? ए डायरेक्टर, एडिशनल डायरेक्टर। पवन जी टाइम है मेरा? आपके चेहरे से लग रहा है टाइम नहीं है। अच्छा, डायरेक्टर, एडिशनल डायरेक्टर, डिप्टी डायरेक्टर, बी, सी। डी में लिखा है एनी अदर ऑफिसर कैन बी अपॉइंटेड। अपॉइंटमेंट होगा अंडर सेक्शन 49 ऑफ पीएमएलए में। 49 पीएमएलए में एनी अदर पर्सन, किसी भी रिमोट एरिया में जहां ऑफिस नहीं है ईडी का, वहां वो अपॉइंट हो जाएगा, और he will work only for the purpose of ED office once he is appointed. आज तो कम्युनिकेशन सिस्टम इतना स्ट्रॉन्ग है, एक व्हाट्सएप पे उसका अपॉइंटमेंट हो जाएगा, एक कम्युनिकेशन एक कम्युनिकेशन उसको देना बहुत इजी है। नाउ पॉइंट इज, हमारे यहाँ पहले एडजुडिकेटिंग अथॉरिटी आज भी देखो दिल्ली में है, बॉम्बे की, इंदौर की दिल्ली में है, इवन उड़ीसा की दिल्ली में है, पीएमएलए कोर्ट दिल्ली में है। अब धीरे धीरे एक से ज्यादा स्पेशल कोर्ट बन गई है, पहले कहाँ थी? जयपुर में एडजुडिकेटिंग अथॉरिटी नहीं है, उसका भी दिल्ली में। इवन पौंडीचेरी में एडजुडिकेटिंग अथॉरिटी नहीं है, उसकी मद्रास में है। मैं क्या कहना चाह रहा हूँ कि ये इसलिए बनाया गया कि कहीं भी उन्हें सर्च करनी है। फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अभी उन्होंने दिल्ली में एक ईडी ऑफिस ने सर्च करी और उन्हें लगा कि कैलकाटा की इस कंपनी ने ये ट्रांजेक्शन करा है, और ये कैलकाटा में तो है, चलिए उनके पास फोर्स और रिमोट एरिया ले लीजिए। इमीडिएटली उन्हें सर्च करना है, immediately then and there they will appoint somebody to conduct the search to fulfill the objective. ये सब इसमें से। अब पीएमएलए को मैं डिफाइन कर रहा हूं कि हम कहां इन्वॉल्व हैं या नहीं है, वो हमें समझना है। देखिए डेफिनेशन को देखिए, जो क्लैरिफिकेशन आए 2/8/19 से, वो बड़े इंपॉर्टेंट है। ये क्लैरिफिकेशन है, अमेंडमेंट नहीं है। अमेंडमेंट उस डेट से होता है, एक पर्टिकुलर डेट से होता है, लेकिन क्लैरिफिकेशन का मतलब है इट इज फ्रॉम द डेट ऑफ नोटिफिकेशन ऑफ द मेन डेफिनेशन विच इज 1 जुलाई 2005। वहां से आप आ जाइए, क्या बोलता है वो उसमें? whosoever डायरेक्टली इनडायरेक्टली अटेम्प्ट्स टू इंडल्ज। देखिए इंडल्ज और इन्वॉल्वमेंट में बहुत डिफरेंस है। इंडल्ज कहां आता है? इंडल्ज ये आता है, मैं एक केस करा रहा हूं और मेरे से एक आईटीओ या मेरे से एक ऑफिसर कहता है कि अकबर साहब आपको बड़ी नॉलेज है प्रॉपर्टी की, यार मैं 2 साल बाद रिटायर हो जाऊंगा, मुझे बता दो कहाँ, नोएडा में सोच रहा हूँ मकान लेने की। मैं उसे एक प्रॉपर्टी डीलर का नंबर दे देता हूँ कि भाई साहब ये लीजिए नंबर और आप इनसे बात कर लीजिए। और बोला मुझे कहाँ लेना चाहिए? मैंने कहा इंदिरापुरम ले लो, वो भी अच्छा है, मैं वहां भी एक डीलर का नंबर देता हूँ। यहाँ मैं इंडल्ज हूँ, मैं इन्वॉल्व नहीं हूँ। दूसरा रास्ता ये है कि आईटीओ बोलता है मैं गया था अग्रवाल साहब, और यार वो तो कुछ बी पोर्शन में मांग रहा है, कुछ ए में मांग रहा है, होता है ना प्रॉपर्टी के ट्रांजेक्शन में, कुछ चेक से कुछ कैश से। तो बोला यार चेक तो मैं कर दूंगा अपनी वाइफ के नाम में, लोन वोन लेके जैसे भी होगा, कुछ है भी जुड़ा हुआ एक्यूमुलेटेड फंड्स, लेकिन कैश का कैसे होगा? अरे मैंने कहा आप केस करो ना मेरे क्लाइंट का, मेरे क्लाइंट देगा, मैं उसको दे आऊंगा बिल्डर को। हम एकेडमिक डिस्कशन कर रहे हैं और मैं जाके क्लाइंट से लेके बिल्डर को दे आता हूँ। नाउ पॉइंट इज my client is not involved in money laundering because he has handed over the money to me. He doesn't know who I am, for what purpose. उसे पता है मेरा केस हो रहा है, उसके एंटी करप्शन का ही ऑफेंस है बस, मींस प्रिंसिपल ऑफेंस है, मदर ऑफेंस है। नाउ मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग उसके बाद आता है, बट टू मी आई एम इन्वॉल्व इन मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग, नॉट ओनली इंडल्ज, दिस इज इन्वॉल्वमेंट। Now I read the definition. Whosoever directly, indirectly attempts to indulge, knowingly assist, knowingly is a party or actually involved in any process or activity connected with the proceed of crime, concealment, acquisition, use, and word uses and projecting or claiming untainted. This is called, this process, there are three stages. One is offense has been committed, commission of an offense. Second is money has been raised from that offense. And third is that he has laundered that money. What process is called laundering? He's changing the very true characteristics of that money. He's saying that money I have received against the advance in a property. I give you one example. मेरे को कोई किसी कहता है कि भाई यार ये पैसा है उससे रख लेना यार, मार्च के बाद ले लूंगा, बड़ी प्रॉब्लम है। मैंने कहा यार मैं घर में तो कैश रखता नहीं, कहीं रख देता हूँ। मैं किसी बिजनेस पे कैश लिख के मैं उससे कहता हूँ यार कैश रख लो, लेकिन ऐसा करो अपनी किताबों में एक एंट्री पास कर लो, रिसीव्ड अगेंस्ट प्रॉपर्टी, एडवांस रिसीव्ड अगेंस्ट प्रॉपर्टी, सेम स्क्रिप्ट, सेम नोट, सेम करेंसी, बट आई हैव चेंज द कैरेक्टर ऑफ द रिसीट, नेचर, कलर ऑफ द रिसीट, कलर ऑफ द मनी, बाय चेंजिंग दिस इज लॉन्ड्रिंग। This is the object. My objective was to conceal the main source of the trade. That is laundering. अब clarification पे आइए, which is very important. Clarification क्या कहता है? A person shall be guilty of an offense of money laundering. Sir, person is found to have directly or indirectly attempted to indulge. That is very important. Clarification, पवन जी, clarification में attempted पास्ट टेंस यूज किया है, मेन डेफिनेशन में प्रेजेंट टेंस यूज किया है। ये किस चीज को हमें बताता है, और ये क्लैरिफिकेशन है। इट मींस मैं डेफिनेशन 1 जुलाई 2005 में पढ़ रहा हूं, आफ्टर इनकॉर्पोरेटिंग दीज क्लॉजेस, बिकॉज दीज आर द क्लॉजेस व्हिच क्लैरिफाई द डेफिनेशन। मींस इट इज रेफरिंग, सर, इट इज रेफरिंग टू द पीरियड प्रायर टू द नोटिफिकेशन ऑफ दिस एक्ट। मींस अगर मदर ऑफेंस उसने 2000 में भी किया है, मदर ऑफेंस 2000 में भी किया है, मान लो बोफोर्स में एक उसको अपॉइंट किया, किसी ऑफिसर को, गवर्नमेंट ऑफिसर को अपॉइंट किया और उसने क्लीन रिपोर्ट दी, उसे 20 करोड़ रुपए मिले, और उसने कहा यार देखो ऐसा है, अभी तो मैं रिटायर नहीं हुआ हूं, मैं यार रिटायर होऊंगा 2010 में, और उसने 2010 में वो पैसा उसे हैंड ओवर कर दिया। दिस इज मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग। दो मदर ऑफेंस वाज कमिटेड इन समवेयर 90। क्लॉज क्या कहती है? प्रायर टू द एक्ट। क्लॉज में पास्ट टेंस यूज किया है। इसी तरह से दूसरी क्लॉज क्या कहती है? प्रोसीड ऑफ क्राइम इज ए कंटिन्यूअस एक्टिविटी। कंटिन्यूअस एक्टिविटी मींस अगर आज भी आप उसे एंजॉय कर रहे हैं, इवन देन देयर इज ए मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग। दैट वाज द क्रक्स ऑफ द पॉइंट। सर, व्हाट वी हैव टू ऑब्जर्व, do we involve in any process or activity connected with the proceed of crime, connected with the money laundering, तब हमें प्रॉब्लम है। अदरवाइज चौड़े होकर काम करो, क्या प्रॉब्लम है? देयर इज नो प्रॉब्लम। अभी मेरे से किसी क्लाइंट ने एडवाइस ली, और एडवाइस ये थी कि भाई ये एनसीएलटी से कंपनी निकली है और आप इसमें बताइए कि कैन वी परचेज दिस। मैंने सबसे पहले लिखा माय एडवाइस इज sought फॉर दिस वेरी पर्पस टू एंश्योर द लीगलिटी नॉट वायबिलिटी। निकाल के, अरे दीज आर द assumption आई हैव प्रिज्यूम, they have purchased that fruit, no problem, I am safe. अब सीबीआई में देखिए कितने एनपी होते हैं। अभी 6 महीने पुरानी बात है, एक कंपनी एनसीएलटी के थ्रू किसी ने खरीदी, मेरे को बुलाया, मुझसे कहा कि सर अनिल जी आप आए हो, मैंने लेक्चर भी दिया हुआ है सीबीआई में मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग के ऊपर, सीबीआई एकेडमी में। मुझसे कहा आप ये बताइए कि ये जो एनपीए हुआ है फंड एक कंपनी में, ये जो बैंक का पैसा गया है, क्या ये बिजनेस लॉस है? या ये साइफनिंग और डाइवर्जन ऑफ फंड से? स्टॉक ऑडिटर को बुलाया गया पवन जी, स्टेटरी ऑडिटर को बुलाए गए, कंपनी के इंटरनल ऑडिटर बुलाए गए, फाइनेंस कंट्रोलर बुलाया गया, सब बैठे हम डीआईजी सीबीआई के रूम में, एंड आई सेटिस्फाई हिम टू हिज सेटिस्फैक्शन दैट दिस वाज ए बिजनेस लॉस। खत्म हो गया सब काम। किसकी चीज की दिक्कत है? माई व्हाट आई एम सेइंग, वी हैव टू सी द इन्वॉल्वमेंट। हमें उस एंगल से इसको जज करना है। सर, टाइम इज शॉर्ट, थैंक यू वेरी मच, एंड थैंक यू हैव प्रोवाइडेड an opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anilji, giving the practical aspects of various things and explaining what is the meaning of indulge and involvement in a very lucid manner, which you have mentioned. And you have raised the 3 institution points that I'll cover at the last. Now, as you are aware that sometime some senior person and the person who has seen all these things, he has seen the professionals' activities, he has seen the disciplinary activities. So his advice on the basis of these overall things, I'm not confined to the circular only. These issues, I request Ashok Haldia ji, and I'm happy that he, despite of he is in London, he has agreed to speak. Please, Ashok ji, tell us some advice to the professionals. You have to unmute yourself, sir. Ashok ji, you have to.
Yes. Thank you, Pawanji, since you made the invitation and I came to this morning. Despite my family engagements, I thought I can't avoid. And it's such a topic which is such an hot and listening for some of the distinguished speakers. And lastly, what Mr. Anil Agrawal ji has talked about, and both Anil Gupta ji, I had occasion to hear a bit of Mr. Anil Gupta ji as well. But it is very important for us to understand, and I believe let me highlight some thoughts which are different possibly than what has been expressed so far, and which I have listened to. And I would say that the concerns or the points that Anil Agrawal ji has made would possibly give enough background to what I'm saying. So thank you, Anilji, for that. And I know the Anilji has been a practitioner in PMLA. And you know, Pawanji, I have been involved in some way when the PMLA was formulated. And I have been telling to all and sundry that it offers a great opportunities to the profession to practice. And I know only a few professionals like Anilji has ventured into that, and I'm sure he should be very successful. The first point is, let me first say that it's a very important piece of legislation, important for the national economy. It recognized the role of the chartered accountants, and it also recognized that how important the chartered accountant, the company secretary, and CMAs are important to this economy and to the entire trail of the financial transaction. That's important. And therefore, the intent of this act is the prevention of money laundering, rather than catching hold of the black money. It's a prevention of money. So if you are able to keep track on the trails to the generation and the money transaction, the money laundering transaction, then possibly you were able to prevent it. And that's why I believe what the government has done is in that perspective. Now, first thing is, as has been very, very, very elaborately elucidated, the Section 3, and I'm not going to. I'd simply emphasize for the benefit of the listener that it's such a wide action that it can cover all and sundry, you, me, and anybody. It extends, and Anilji has explained as to how it covers the different individuals in a different way who indulge or attempted to indulge into the money laundering businesses. Now, having said that, now let me say what is this May 3 notification makes a difference, and that's what possibly is the difference that I would make. Well, I say to begin with my comments that it's an opportunity. We did not get frightened. but I would say we should not get complacent. It's an area of concern, not a concern, but it's an area, something that is to be taken very seriously. And in order to be able to serve the government effectively and to the professionals themselves, we must address to those gray areas, those areas which needs clarification and clarity. As has been said, this act is very wide, very comprehensive. You do anything with a fairness and genuineness, you can still be held accountable. You can still be hauled up. And I'm not saying about the intent of the law. That may be logical, that may be reasonable, because everyone is expected to be very clear, transparent, and fair in whatever he does, and more so when he is a professional. So therefore, ladies and gentlemen, my point is that we must be concerned about in what manner we should address ourselves with the additional responsibility that we have been entrusted upon. As I said, all of us, including all professionals, the legal professional, are liable under the Section 3 of the PMLA. So that goes without saying. But what this notification does is that these notified professionals have been made as a reporting entity. Now, this reporting entity doesn't mean simply filing a form like a company's, in the company's, the MCA portal, filling it and uploading it. It's much more than. What are the additional responsibilities? You are not only required to keep information, you are required to keep records for a certain period, and you are required to appoint a designated director and also nominate a principal officer who would be expected to comply with the provisions in this regard. And in case you find there is a suspicious transaction, then you are expected to monitor that transaction. And then you have to not only monitor, you have to do extra due diligence increase the level of diligence for that transaction. Now, most importantly, what it requires is that if you come across the suspicious transactions, then you need to take additional steps to enhance your level of due diligence. Now, what is that enhanced level of due diligence? That would include all and sundry. You have to look into the client, you have to look into the transactions, you have to look who are the associated, what goes preceding and subsequent to the transaction. All that needs to be looked into when you do that due diligence. Now, what are the implications for the professions? One thing is these transactions are highly complex. They have multi-layer of entities, subsidiaries, associates, so on and so forth. And then they are under multiple jurisdiction. Do you have that information? You do not have. Can client provide you information? You say, these are other jurisdiction. I do not have access to that. What do? The law says that you, in that case, you can disassociate. You should not allow the transaction to be carried forward. Well, fine. What then will you do? You need to record the regions. But then the enforcement director can always approach you as to what you have done and why you have refused. Now, that is where the due diligence to me is required, not only at the detailed due diligence, other than the mere permanent account number or the Aadhaar card and so on and so forth, at the know your client stage, but also detailed information. Because if you accept a transaction, then your responsibility increases. Now, I agree that it is limited to a certain kinds of activities which has been enumerated in the notification. But you look at what the Financial Action Task Force recommended in 2012 was that the professions like accountants or the legal professions who are preparing or carrying out certain kinds of activities. Now, in this notification, you see there is no word like preparation. Now, had there been a word preparation, that would have been all encompassing, but that word is not there. But I believe if you read it with the Section 3 and the consequences of you're able to fulfill the responsibilities of reporting authorities are together. You have to read that together. Because if you do not feel your responsibility as a reporting authority, then possibly the Act only says you are not liable for criminal or the civil liabilities, but then you're only monetary, that is 10,000 per day, subject to maximum of 1 lakh. But then, as one of the speaker earlier said, then you can be blamed of knowingly be part of this attempt of not reporting or not to undertake the due diligence knowingly. So therefore, my submission is that we need to be careful. And I've said in other platforms also, I do not know how much time you have said, including the platforms where I had a opportunity to interact with the legal luminaries in the country, that there is a need for a guidance on all these terms, because everywhere under the Act, and Anilji would agree, the word says as may be prescribed, as may be prescribed. I do not know how many number of times the Act says like. Now, when this prescription, even in respect of due diligence also, it say what is that extra due diligence required as may be prescribed. Now, I believe it's not Pavanji you said, or possibly somebody else, or Anil Guptaji said, that all 3 institutions should come together and or maybe separately set a task force, come to the guidance of the members. I don't think that is enough. The Money Laundering Act is a very wide and very extensive intensely. I'm not blaming it. It may be right. It is rightly so. But then unless you prepare that guidance in consultation with the government authorities, maybe FIU or maybe anybody, that guidance is not going to help any view, because the enforcement director can, and rightly so, can take a different view as to such a wider term that has been used, indulge, attempt or attempted, associate, knowingly, process, action, activity, and so on and so forth. So therefore, I would believe that guidance is very important, and the professionals who undertake this job should be very careful, prepare the records, do the know your clients carefully, and also, care the due diligence. Due diligence, I would believe, if I would have been, undertaking these transactions, I would say at the know your client or the aspect or on the verification of the identity of the clients and the transaction, I would have looked into what this client is, who are the promoters, who are the stakeholders, what is the organization, what is the organization culture. Important is the organizational culture. If organizational culture doesn't promote the ethics, you should be first to deny that, because somehow or other way, the organization would find ingenious ways to subvert or to divert the true character of the transactions, and you, at the end, you as a professional might be held accountable. So take proper care, more circumspect, and a greater due diligence in this transaction. I have said, and I'm saying, they offer a great professional opportunities to the profession, and I believe this circular also, or this notification also they should be paid handsomely. They should have a capable, competent person. They should have a knowledge of all legal laws, because if you see the Schedule 1 and Schedule 2 the Act, they have all kinds of law which are attracted. So you should have that comprehensive law. Now let me I'll take Pavanji couple of minutes. I was together with some legal luminaries in at some platforms, and I said that the financial action task was very categorically said, but the government responded, and I believe for the benefit of Anilji, is that these professions are subject to the professional confidentiality, so they would look into it. Now obviously the point is now possibly the legal profession is more subject to that. Now one of the legal luminaries made a point out that the transaction that they carry out are different than the transactions that is carried out by these notified professionals. I said, no, you are not right. You may be right, you are wrong. I agree and disagree, for the reason that these complex transactions you cannot undertake without the assistance of the legal persons, because you have to weave around these transactions into a legal shape. Now, so you have to be, legal party has to be part of it. Now, if the word use have been preparing, then they would have certainly be part of it. And I told them that together with the Section 3, they are equally responsible. Maybe they are not required to appoint a designated director or the principal officer, but I believe if they come across such transactions, they are required to report to the concerned authorities. So I would say that this is an opportunity, but then the profession need not be afraid of, but they need to be more careful. It cannot be like any other assignment. And I'm sorry, if I take that liberty, I can add that it should not be taken up as any other assignment, because the PMLA is very, very wide, very intuitive, very extensive, very intensive. And and anything that we need to do should not do only what the law says, but we should also go into what the intent of the law. Because even if the literal interpretation of the law or bisecting into the words, commas, and full stop may somehow put us in terms of the in terms of the protection. So with that, I'm Pawanji, thank you very much for finding it.
You have given your word of wisdom. Now, Ravi, this entire issue of PMLA has come out from International Placement and FATF. So please tell us certain things in short, because we have already exceeded time and there's some important questions we have to take. Yeah,
Mr. Pawan, I have to leave in between because see, I have a meeting at 6:30. So I'm so thankful to you and all the co-panelists. Thank you. Thanks.
Okay. So grateful to have you here. I have set my timer to 3 minutes, but I'll take 20 seconds first to, I mean, it is far beyond my capacity to felicitate or give any comments on the opener, but he has certainly laid down a very good pitch for others to build on that. Now, I remember the first speech of Constituent Assembly given by Dr. Ambedkar, who said, however good a constitution may be, I'm replacing the word constitution with notification. However good a notification may be, it is sure to turn out bad because those who are called to work it happen to be a bad lot. However bad a notification may be, it may turn out to be good if those who are called to work it happen to be a good lot. Now, surprisingly, this notification issued by Ministry of Finance comes too late in the day. And it will be surprising, and I'm sure surprising for everyone here as well, that FATF, in its recommendation of 2003 and by the interpretative note of 2012, had recommended verbatim same language which is contained in May 3rd notification. It came in India only in 2023. What FATF calls it, and has been calling it since 1990, 1 year after it was constituted in G7 Paris, as Mr. Agarwal told us, only banks were included for what they call gatekeeper function, the gatekeeper initiative. So the FATF looks at professionals and all those who are involved in these activities, which they call the designated activities, as the gatekeepers. Why do they call it gatekeepers? And I'm quoting it from their own website, is that they feel that these legal services are being vulnerable to be misused for the purpose of money laundering. And they lay down the activities, which are the key activities, the most vulnerable ones. And why FATF suggested these measures is that so that the professionals or the persons, relevant persons, as the notification uses the word, being alert to red flags indicating that the client is seeking to involve them in criminal activity, choosing to abide by their ethical obligations and applicable professional rules, and discerning legitimate client wishes from transactions and structures intended to conceal or promote criminal activity or thwart law enforcement. Usually, what is a gatekeeper function? The gatekeeper is defined by FATF as some form of an outside or independent watchdog or monitor, someone who screens out flaws or defects or who verifies compliance with standards or procedures. What has been issued in India on the recommendations of FATF are these two-pager notifications. While the sufficiency of notifications and how these will be worked out is yet to be seen, and it's a matter of tomorrow, but clearly the implications has been propounded by the panelists before me are noteworthy, and both on both the sides, and it could lead to those ramifications. But what is happening in other countries? Let us see. We are not the first one. As I clearly told you, we are coming after 2 decades almost. And if we take the base as the interpretative letter of 2012, then we are also coming after a decade. So we're not the first one. The issue of confidentiality, or the dilemma that whether as a professional I should disclose or not, arose in UK in 2003 in a case called P versus P. There was a matrimonial dispute, and the lawyer who was defending a party got to know that some of the property in the matrimonial dispute could be a result of money laundering. And therefore, a query was filed before the court, praying relief that whether if I make the disclosure, would I be protected from prosecution? Later on, Court of Appeal, they said, yes, that protection will be available. So much water has flown under the bridge in international jurisdictions so far as the dilemmas, the questions that arise before the professionals today. But I'll clearly, since I said 3 minutes limit, what the notification expects us to do, it classifies us as gatekeepers, and the duty is of having and implementing internal control measures as laid down in the notifications. What do I mean by internal control? Internal control consists of 3 steps: creation of internal policies in accordance with the law, procedures and controls, and the training programs. And finally, establishment of an independent audit function to test the implemented measures within the organizations while rendering these services. Another aspect that was touched upon, whether these activities are themselves illegal or can be conducted by professionals, particularly these 3 categories. I think these notifications come as a clarification that these activities are not per se considered illegitimate, as was the doubt earlier, because one may still conduct them. The only obligation is that you become a reporting entity because you go overboard. So therefore, registered office facility may not be an illegal facility or an illegal service, but if you render that service, which means if you act as a gatekeeper, you need to ensure that you are allowing a person to enter into the territory, whether the person is clean or not, whether the person is coming with drug money, or person is coming with terrorist financing, or in any form of money laundering activity. You can't act as a facade or assist or facilitate the camouflaging or layering or integration of that money with the mainstream economic activity. So therefore, the function is of gatekeeping. It's a concept, it's a keyword used by FATF way back in 1990 and has been built by FATF later on, year after year on that. And in Malaysia, let me tell you, our brethren are already in trouble. Mr. Agarwal mentioned quite about some cases where professionals are roped in, arrayed as an accused. So therefore, this notification is going to help rather than deterring the professionals. And a case in point is the case of Malaysia, where this was implemented way back. And after 2017, when it was implemented in full force, there has been no single case wherein a lawyer has been roped in or a professional has been roped in for money laundering activities, because they have not only come up with a notification, less a 2-pager, but they have been coming out with publications as to what control systems, what measures, what procedures we would like you to set up and are there to. Therefore, that is the need of the hour. Probably the institutes or the ministerial group which has issued this notification, they should come up with more details as to what is expected from professionals who are rendering these kind of business services. Another aspect is, how do you determine the scope of diligence? Because the judicial test, and Kenka sir would confirm it, remains of reasonable man. And you can't expect a person to know everything under the sun while rendering a service. So therefore, these are the nuances. And I emphasize, sir, that this notification comes too late in the day. Had it come before, our fraternity, our brethren would have been saved from the trouble they are already in. So therefore, that is a point should be noted. And going forward, it depends on what step we take, because now from this point, there is no one else to blame. Now it is clear they have put it by way of notification that these are you are reporting entity if you are rendering these kind of services. And there are rules which lay down somewhat clearly. It's not absolutely clearly, but somewhat clearly what you are expected to do if you are involved in these kind of activities. So that is also.
Okay, thank you, Ravi. Thank you very much. We have overshoot time, so that's why I'm not. Sir, some few important questions. Amitji, I will ask you whether CA, CS, CWA job, they are in job, not practicing, doing action and arranging, working for their loan funding, arrangement, property dealing, involvement, other thing, whether it's covered in PMLA.
See, Pavanji, let us, I will like to clarify one very important thing, that these two notifications have nothing to do with the liability under PMLA. It is primarily a part of reaching out for information and for, in order to assist the investigating agencies. Because after all, if there is a contract which ultimately has an effect of turning into a suspicious transaction, and if there is a person who is taking upon himself, he needs to have the KYC of that person. If suppose I am working for someone else, the only thing that these notifications do, or the reporting mechanism does, that I must hold his proper KYC as prescribed under the law. Then I must also keep a record of whatever transpires or whatever transactions take place. And if I have any kind of a suspicion that it may be a suspicious transaction, then there should be enhanced scrutiny of the further transactions, and also it should be reported to the authorities. So that is the only thing which does. Yes, the danger is that because there are still clarifications required, as Ravi rightly pointed out, that there are certain vague terms used here. There are certain terms which have wide overreach. They can have different meanings. So all that needs to be clarified in order to have a proper regime. So we will require certain clarificatory mechanism for this, so that everybody knows whether the activity which is being conducted by him, whether that activity actually falls in this particular term or not. And thereafter, there shouldn't be any problem, because if you are working on behalf of someone else or for someone else, you should be made responsible to provide proper information to the authorities. There cannot be any two views about it. So, but at the same time, any slackness could be taken as an abatement. As Anil Agrawalji rightly said, that while interpreting Section 3, which has a very wide interpretation, any slackness in not providing this information or any slackness in not performing this job may be interpreted by the authorities as abatement or as being in collusion. So that is one big problem. Therefore, as Haldia sir said, that you need to in fact, not all the three institutes, even the Bar Council now, because in my view, the lawyers are not excluded out of it. It is the lawyers are very much there. These notifications don't exclude the lawyers. So even the Bar Council has to come forth, and all the four authorities, all the four professional bodies, they should impress upon the government or the working groups to be more clear, to be more expressive and elaborate. And there should be some mechanism by which any query or any question which plagues the mind of someone, they should be able to answer in a proper manner. So that is what is I think the requirement of the day. Otherwise, as Ravi said, that keeping proper records actually saves you. The keeping proper records is not, I mean, it may look like a burden for a moment, but preserving records actually saves. And Madan sir rightly said that we should keep records till our life. So it is absolutely right that if you are keeping the records, but if I don't know whether I am covered or in this or not, that may be a problem, because you have to do a periodic reporting. You have to give the information in some cases within 3 days. So that is how it is very important that we have the clarity on the terms used in these 2 notifications, on the activities of. Thank you so much.
Okay, Anil Agrawal ji.
Sir.
How, as a professional, I'm supposed to check where is the money parked? Whether the client had created a SPV to park the fund. I can only check watch out investor site or take MRL from the client.
You mean to say when property under section 5 subsection 1, it required on the part of the ED office to attach the property or to confirm the attachment under section 8 of PMLA, you want that where money has been parked or where the proceed of crime which is not available prima facie, because property is registered say at 10 crore but actual transaction price is say 20 crore. So you mean 10 crore is from the source of proceed of crime. So you want to say that how you will discover? Hello?
Yes, sir. You carry on.
You want to say that how they will detect the proceed of crime, the money which has been parked. This is your query.
अशोक जी जरा अपना जरा म्यूट कर लीजिएगा. Carry on, Anil ji.
देखिए, if you look at the definition of property or proceed of crime, or for value to be received, whether property has been taken outside India or within India. So, or for value to be received का यही मतलब है कि any other property of the same value. Now, value means value at on the date of when he is acquired. If that date is not available, then the date on which he is in possession of that property, that can be taken as the value of the property, and any other property of the same value can be attached. But there are other views. Khemkaji will say कि जो प्रॉपर्टी बाहर है, खेमका जी आप यही बोलोगे ना कि जो प्रॉपर्टी बाहर है सिर्फ उसी के लिए दूसरी प्रॉपर्टी ले सकते हो, इंडिया के लिए नहीं जी. और यही बोल रहे हो ना. और एक केस भी इसमें डिसाइड हुआ है, पंजाब एंड हरियाणा हाई कोर्ट ने डिसाइड किया उसके ही बेस पे और प्रॉपर्टी रिलीज की, और उसी सीनियर एडवोकेट ने सुप्रीम कोर्ट में रिप्रेजेंट किया और वो उस पे हाई कोर्ट के जजमेंट पे मोहर लगा दी. लेकिन सर मैं फिर बता रहा हूं, मैं केस का नाम नहीं ले रहा हूं, जिस दिन भी वो केस खुल जाएगा या कोई एप्लीकेशन लगा देगा, सारी वो प्रॉपर्टी जो उसमें रिलीज हुई है या उन्हें प्रोटेक्शन मिला है सब अटैच हो जाएंगी. बिकॉज यू हैव टू गो बाय द इंटेंशन ऑफ सेक्शन 2U एंड विच इज वेरी वेरी क्लियर. जो पॉइंट इन्होंने रेज किया है, जो भी ऑडियंस है, जो पवन जी ने के थ्रू मेरे पे आया है, ये इसी बात को कहा है कि भाई वो जो प्रोसीड है वो दिखाई नहीं दे रही, वो पता ही नहीं लग रहा कहाँ है, कितनी अच्छी तरीके से वो कवर हो गई है, कहाँ से पकड़ेंगे वो. अगर नहीं मिलती तो आपका ये कहना है कि, क्योंकि आपको मैंने सुना था एक लेक्चर में, आपका ये कहना है कि वही प्रॉपर्टी हो सकती है, अदरवाइज नहीं हो सकती. और एक केस भी मैंने पंजाब एंड हरियाणा हाई कोर्ट का बताया कि जो इस बात के ऊपर प्रॉपर्टी रिलीज हुई है. लेकिन मैं फिर कह रहा हूं, दैट इज नॉट द इंटेंशन ऑफ लेजिस्लेशन. आई एम सॉरी. और जिस दिन भी मैं चाह रहा हूं सुप्रीम कोर्ट में एक PIL डालना उसके ऊपर, लेकिन पहले ब्रीफ करके डालूंगा क्योंकि बहुत सारे केस इफेक्ट हो जाएंगे उसके ऊपर. बहुत सारे हो जाएंगे सर. और फिर मैं आप जितना लर्निंग तो नहीं हूं अमित खेमका जी, लेकिन ये जरूर कह रहा हूं आप उस केस को दोबारा पढ़ें एंड यू विल एग्री विद मी कि वो केस, देखिए ये नया एक्ट है, इन डेप्थ नॉलेज चाहिए. और जब एक सीनियर एडवोकेट उस वजन का बोल रहा है तो जज को भी लगता है कि यार ठीक ही बोल रहा है, क्या जरूरत है और 10 केस पढ़े, इस नए एक्ट पे दिमाग लगाने की क्या जरूरत है, बाद में देख लेंगे। सर आप पढ़िएगा उस केस को दोबारा, और फॉर वैल्यू टू बी बड़ा क्लियर है, एनी अदर प्रॉपर्टी ऑफ द सेम वैल्यू कैन बी अटैच्ड, दैट इज द इंटेंशन ऑफ लेजिस्लेशन। प्लीज सर पवन जी।
Amit, will providing a registered office and becoming a resident director for company for a cost come under financial transaction? Short answer, please.
Agent services, yes. As I gave the example, Chinese companies, if you are providing them the rental services, if I am as a PCS providing, answer is yes.
So, am I liable for PMLA?
Reporting entity you will become, and you'll have to report the transaction if crosses the threshold.
R.K. Agarwal ji, arranging for another person has a wider meaning. This also cover the facilitator job. No, I'm just there's a joint question. Whether 9th March clarification takes away certain area from the practicing professional, they were allowed to act as a aggregator, trustees plus nominee shareholder is the legitimate concept under the Companies Act. Why such situation is falling under the PMLA Act when Companies Act itself provide mechanism for reporting? So,
First of all, 9th May notification is not only for the professionals. It is for the person carrying on the activity in the course of business. So any person may be covered. So it is not restricted only to the professionals. Only 3rd May, I just said that there is a clear-cut distinction in the 3rd May notification and 9th May notification. 3rd May notification is for the activities carried in the course of the profession, and 9th May notification is for the activities carried in the course of the business. And in the course of business, it can be any person. So far as the in the course of profession is concerned, 3rd May notification, that can also be any professional. But they have specified 3 CS, CS and CMAs will also be included, because they feel these are the primarily these persons do undertake such activities in more frequency. That may be the intention. Otherwise, all professionals, if they are taking in the course of profession, but the activity of giving the consultancy on consultancy basis, doing these activities will not be covered. You are doing it on behalf of you are carrying the activities on behalf of the client. Only then it is covered. So therefore, to say that 9th May notification has excluded from the ambit of the professionals does not arise. This question does not arise, because it was never intended only to be covered by the professionals. And if there is a reporting requirement under the Companies Act, that is independent requirement. So far as the requirement of the PMLA is that if any person is undertaking these activities, that they want these activities to be reported. The idea is prevention of money laundering. The idea is not that the offense has been committed, then you are caught, catching. There may be suspicion. If you are doing these kind of activities, then these lead to the activity which may culminate into money laundering. Therefore, they are asking reporting of these activities, where they can look into further about the nature of these activities, and if something fishy is there, the investigating agencies may become active. So they want you to work as a semi-regulator. That is the intention.
Anilji, arranging for another, now there is a very interesting question. If a consulting company is helping foreign companies to incorporate their subsidiaries in India, will there be any issue? Also, if the consulting company is appointing any practicing company secretary as their Indian resident director, will there be any issue?
Not at all. So long as you are discharging your duty within the parameters which have been dedicated to you, there is absolutely no problem. Even if you are a director, you are not in execution. You are as a watchdog, or you are as an advisor for any wrongdoing. And you can note down your dissent. आप अपनी dissent note करा सकते हैं किसी में भी. यहाँ भी आप हैं, ये opportunity, ये आपको दी गई है authority. तो उसमें कोई problem ही नहीं है.
पर अगर वो कंपनी जो बाहर की कंपनी है उसका कोई अगर
बाहर की कंपनी से इसका कोई मतलब ही नहीं है। हमें तो ये देखना है, अब हम ग्लोबलाइजेशन में जीवन जी रहे हैं सर। वी आर नॉट इंडियन प्रोफेशनल, वी आर ग्लोबल प्रोफेशनल। एंड आई टेल यू प्रोफेशनल, ऑल प्रोफेशनल, इवन एडवोकेट, चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट, कॉस्ट अकाउंटेंट, कंपनी सेक्रेटरी, sir, they represent the cream of the world, not India. Now we have boundaryless nation and borderless economy. We talk of globalization.
Okay. Amit, whether online entity formation service covered under this?
Online entity formation definitely will not fall. Simpliciter company incorporation services have been clarified that they are not covered in the ambit.
Madam, will virtual CFO will covered under the profession under a PMLA?
What do you mean by virtual CFO?
Virtual CFO, those who are working for so many companies, not only one company.
We are not virtual CFO. If it's a professional, again, let's not get into these things. Notification is talking about reporting authority, reporting person. Otherwise, anybody and everybody involved in the activity is involved in the PMLA activity, PMLA legislation.
Okay. Last question. Amit, I think this is connected to you. PMLA Act applicable if CSPs in practice is taking care of a company compliance or chartered on retainer basis, or some chartered accountant which is giving auditing service to various multiple companies.
So prima facie, unless and until I am falling in the services which are prescribed, prima facie, if I provide services to, let's say, to one of my company which is involved, let's say tomorrow in some PMLA activity. So because of that activity, in any case, as Madan sir has already mentioned, in a wider net, I am already covered. So by virtue of that, I will be covered, but I will become reporting entity only if I fall in those specified services, otherwise not.
Okay. So friends, we have already exceeded.
Pawanji, one thing, we were talking about practicing professionals. One thing you require 1 minute only. Even if professionals who are in employment, who are under the employment, okay, or who are rendering services in a different capacity for some companies. Without naming the company, I am telling you, even the independent director and whole-time director, and one person who was involved in compliance, and another person who was also involved in compliance. 4 are under jail. EOW में केस फाइल हुआ और उनको वो जेल में है. इंडिपेंडेंट डायरेक्टर किस लिए गया? उसकी इन्वॉल्वमेंट साबित हो गई थी. कंप्लायंस वाला क्यों गया? उसकी भी इन्वॉल्वमेंट साबित हो गई थी. इंटेंशन से क्रिमिनल लॉ जनरेट होता है, क्रिमिनल लॉ चलता है, उसकी इंटेंशन वाला फाइल. और वो दोनों ऑफिसर थे, उनका कोई इस बात से मतलब नहीं था. वो प्रोफेशनल भी नहीं थे जो 2 अंदर है, 4 लोग अंदर है. अमित खेमका जी, जतन सिंह जी वो केस देख रहे हैं, हाईकोर्ट के एडवोकेट. अब देखिए वो कोई प्रैक्टिसिंग नहीं है, कोई भी उनमें से, मैं उनके नाम बता रहा हूं. क्या है बेसिक चीज ये है, वी हैव टू सी द काइंड ऑफ एक्टिविटीज एंड प्रोसेसिंग इन विच वी आर रेंडरिंग सर्विसेज. व्हाट कंस्टिट्यूट दैट? वी हैव टू एग्जामिन दैट फ्रॉम ऑल लीगल पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू. थैंक यू सर.
So before I'm just giving comments, in the meantime, I'll come back to everybody. 1 minute I will just give comments on this. So how this law can be effectively implemented. So friends, everybody has given their viewpoint, and which I think clarified so many doubts also. But the most important thing, there is a need of bringing out FAQ, because when professionals are reading, they are interpreting from their own sake. So small issues are coming. So if FAQ is there, where all 3 institutions and the regulatory body can come together and bring out a clear-cut guidelines, what is covered, what is not covered, and along with what Anilji has mentioned, and giving the example of indulge and involvement. If these types of things are coming, I think that will be clear. One more important thing is that in India, the regulatory body is active, but sometimes they are acting as a extra, they're crossing the extra jurisdiction also, because small things without understanding, they bring out. And another point is, that is for the all 3 institutions, that they should realize this point, that no doubt Anilji has mentioned that 3 institutions has their power and they are doing, but still the government is not satisfying the way disciplinary process is going on in all 3 institutions. That's why they are taking away all these power from these institutions. So we have to just understand that how we can use this law for the benefit, for creating awareness, for making them that your sign is valuable. You should not sign without seeing anything. KYC is important. If KYC is doing something hanky-panky, you should report, or you should not do that work which somebody has said rightly, that if this is the problem, why should I do this work? And if you are finding some transaction, you have to do reporting to the regulatory body which they are providing. For these things, I will start with Anilji for few seconds, not more than 1 minute. Your suggestions to your last message to everybody.
You're talking to Anil Agarwal or Anil Gupta?
I'll come to. I think Madan can start because Madan has. Madan, you can start so other people can.
I'll simply repeat it. Take proper care and due diligence. Have all your records in order. And one suggestion is, whenever such a circular or notification comes, like this notification involving 3 professional bodies, I think it should have been brought in prior consultation with these 3 financial institutions, with these 3 professional institutions. These 3 professional institutions would have given rather certain assistance to the government, that how this particular notification can actually be implemented by the professionals, rather than imposing it on the institution. Institution should have been taken into confidence prior to issue of notification.
Okay, Amit.
Sir, I believe as Ravi and others have very clearly mentioned, we are already delayed in implementation of the international mandate of FATF. So the later or sooner we have now started. So we have to accept it with whole heart that this law is going to be there. Now, what my suggestion is from the government, as a practicing professional with last 20-23 years of working experience, what I had experienced is the KYC infrastructure of country is still very bad. If let's say I have to do KYC of a people, even where the PAN cards are duplicate, Aadhaar cards are duplicate, address proofs are duplicate, how the professional will be able to rely on the documents which are submitted before him, unless and until some centralized agency is created where the data can be verified. That is one. Secondly, when the international transactions are involved, even the authorities are not relying on the apostille document. Notarized document are also being challenged later on. So how the professionals will be able to protect themselves? I think government needs to think on these lines to give some leeway to the professional, I think.
Okay. Ravi.
Yes, sir. 1 minute. Yes. So leaving aside the teething issues for which you have already recommended suggestions and other panelists have also, the statement of law, it's a Latin maxim, says dura lex sed lex. Law may be harsh, but it is law. These notifications are going to compartmentalize the professional world into 3. 1, those who will not do these activities, those who are scared and will not do these activities. Second, those who will do these activities with robust identification and verification protocols and internal control measures. And the third is those who will do these activities without proper diligence, and then they will enjoy the hospitality of state. And that is a legitimate expectation on the part of the state. That is how this is going to change the way. And this is also going to play a psychological role. You see, any money launderer, when he approaches the professional, he knows that he can report. So therefore, it will also deter psychologically further offenses. And those who are complicit, I mean, the consequences are very much clear in the law. Section 3 is in itself, I think, it's a catch-all dragnet. Okay. So that's also. It is going to compartmentalize into these broader 3 categories.
Amit ji.
Anil Agarwal ji, Anil Gupta ji जा चुके हैं.
I'm sorry. So it is. Ji sir, Anil ji, please continue.
I have to speak.
Yes sir.
मैं तो यही कहूंगा कि जितने हम बड़े होते हैं, ये कंप्लायंस का बोझ नहीं है, ये एडवर्सरीज हैं जो हमें अपॉर्चुनिटी देती हैं, और ये रास्ते के पड़ाव हैं, ये मंजिलें नहीं हैं. अरे दुनिया दौड़ रही है, हम चल भी नहीं पा रहे, इस स्पिरिट से जिंदगी जियो. There is always a scope at the top available to each one of us. Why don't you secure that place and be a leader of your community? Don't get lost in the crowd. Be your own friend in all circumstances. Thank you.
Very good. Amit ji. Unmute yourself, sir. Unmute.
I'm saying nothing is left to be said after what Anilji has said. I mean, very frankly, this is the sum and substance of the everything. However, one thing I would still like to say, and since I am a lawyer and being skeptical is my profession, so I am, as Ravi said, that we are 20 years late. But look at the way these notifications have come. Both the notifications are actually interconnected. They are on the same topic. But one is on 3rd of May, other one is on 9th of May. So it clearly shows lack of preparedness. Even though it is after 20 years, there is something lacking, some preparation lacking, and which is also apparent from the wordings of the notifications. I mean, which is also apparent that there are no corresponding amendments in the rules. After all, rules also have to be amended accordingly. So that I wish, as Madan Sahab said, that the institutes were or the bar bodies were consulted, and then these notifications had come with far greater clarity. No doubt, as Anilji said, that we must everybody, every one of us has the duty to follow the law. We have the duty to assist the law. And if we are in a responsible profession, then it is also our responsibility that no one violates the law, much less commits a serious offense like money laundering. Thank you.
Last word, Chairman Sahab.
Pawanji, I was in a committee in the institute regarding formation of accounting standards on the basis of IFRS. And whenever any new legislation was brought by the IFRS or by some other countries, there used to be a background material. Why this legislation? Complete background material. Why this legislation? What is the objective and how it is to be implemented? In fact, that is required. But Amit Khemkaji has also said, but Anilji has also said, whenever nobody is afraid or averse to compliance, all professionals, 99%, as Aldiazi said, would make the compliance. Rather, 99.9% will make the compliance. Either they will not accept the assignment of such a client, or if accepted and they found something fishy, they will report it. But the only thing is, no clarity is there. The way notifications have been drafted, instead of making the things clear, they are creating more confusion. Why are we discussing what we are required to do? It should be spelled out in clear terms. And then what is expected from the professionals? 99% professionals will comply. So money laundering is a menace. It has to be curbed, no doubt about it. With the growth of the country, we professionals are also with the government, with the nation, but clarity, transparency, and confusion should be removed, and clarity and transparency should come so that we know what to do and in what manner to do.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Rajkumar ji.
एक last on the lighter side only. अभी ये काफी घूम रहा था regarding this Adani Hindenburg investigation report, that SEBI needs 6 months after the completion of 1 month to file its report before Supreme Court to find out who are the entities behind all this episode, while the professionals are expected to know beforehand, and I think they are having magic wand in their hands and tell the complete due diligence beforehand.
And sir, 99% of the professionals in these three professions won't know what money laundering is, but they still have to identify the POC, and they still have to identify the suspicious transaction. So I don't know.
Okay, so that is right. So thank friends, you can understand the importance of this topic. It's a 7 o'clock, 7:10, and even 106 people are still there. And today, more than 450 people joined this program, and they have participated and understand the importance of this topic. So friends, thank you very much. Thank you, Anilji. Thank you, RK. Thank you, Amitji, Amit Gupta, Madan, Ravi, Haldiaji, Sanjay Gupta ji, and everybody who has come, Vinod Jainji, and gave their things. And people have asked questions. We have given reply, but some questions are on suggestive nature. Some questions are still pending. What we'll do, these questions we will discuss in our panel and send you the reply. So it can be, we will come out with FAQ from our side on the basis of these questions. So it will be easy to understand, easy to do. So thank you everyone. Friends, as you are aware that our journey of sharing knowledge and sharing our concern about the new subject, new topic will continue. So our next webinar on this is 128th webinar, and that we are doing on next Friday. And this topic of next Friday will be business valuation, how to know your business worth. On 19th we will discuss, and this is very interesting topic where we are not saying how to do valuation. We are saying how to know your value of the business, because today so many new P fund, IPO market, various things are giving. Somebody is not going for anything, but he should know what is the value of his business. So we are doing next webinar on business valuation, how to know your business worth. It will be good. So you can, if your value is less as compared to your peers, then you can understand, you can identify the shortcoming and improve it. So your value can go up. So thank you very much. Thank you very much, and see you next Friday, 19, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Thank you very much.